You're now listening to episode 99 of Signed In, an Xbox 360 podcast, recorded on August 19th, 2012. Find us online at signedinpodcast.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Signed In. I am Jeremy Superpro33.
I am Craig Profdresser.
And I'm Sean Shonix.
How is everybody doing this episode?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
And
Really good.
What?
Yourself? I was stepping on Sean.
Yeah.
I apologize, Sean.
Sorry.
I think
We
I'm
should all
used to you
step on
jumping in
Sean.
first.
I usually do.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to hold this one out. And then I got stepped on. I'm like, ah.
You seem a little more subdued today. You okay, Sean?
It's morning.
It's morning.
Oh, okay.
It's morning.
That's
true.
true.
I was up pretty late. So, yeah. Not playing any games, and that's probably why I'm a little grumpy, too.
Yeah.
Because when I'm up late on a weekend night, not playing games,
It's not good.
usually something else
It's a
involved.
problem?
Yeah, so then I'm like...
I don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, that part was
Just
cool.
shutting it down.
That part
No,
was...
No, stop.
That
Stop.
part was really cool, but the
Ugh, gross.
some of the rest was really neat. Well, you're just looking into stuff.
I didn't look into anything.
They were
Who
baking
knows?
cakes.
We were playing right, left, center. It's a dice game.
Oh,
It's pretty
okay.
cool.
Okay.
I
I don't
watch
know.
fireworks.
I'm never invited to play games, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Must be nice to have friends. I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking, Craig. You're a friend of mine.
Today,
Well, right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say today.
Give it 5 minutes.
Say at least for the last 30 seconds.
I like to start things cordially.
And then they end terribly.
Yes.
Burn them to the ground. Well, good. I'm glad you guys are
hate
doing all right. We have some games to talk about.
Yeah,
As
that's
always. I've got nothing but disc games. Nothing but discs from me. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Spec Ops, The Line.
Awesome.
Which I finished
Good.
up, which was great. Also some Darksiders 2 and some
Spoiler.
Sleeping Dogs.
Awesome.
So that's all I got.
Nothing else?
That's it.
Ah, well,
I know.
Thankfully, I can cover the downloadable side for you.
Yes.
yeah.
I appreciate it. I got the discs.
No problem.
You guys covered everything else.
For indie games, I got 3 games: Human Subject, Spyleaks, and The Fourth Wall that I want to talk about. And then for downloadable games from arcade, I've got Dust and Elysian Tail, which I have a lot to say about.
Cool.
And then a tiny, tiny bit to say about the Expendables 2, the video game, because I think it came out on Friday. And I didn't realize it until just before you guys showed up. I played a little bit of it, though.
That's why I'm sticking
So
around.
we're going to have a snap reaction from me.
I can't wait.
Also, some DLC came out for Quantum Conundrum, another downloadable game with the Desmond Debacle, which I started, haven't finished. So I have a few things to talk about for that. And then hot new game. I know you guys have been champing at the bit for it. Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's
Ooh.
Edge.
I picked up a used copy of Mirror's Edge
Nice.
last week, something like that, and played a little bit of that. And so I thought I'd have a few words for that.
Cool.
Cool. I don't ever...
Retro.
Whoa, retro.
Sorry. I didn't mean to step on you. Everybody, this is the Step on Sean
At least
episode.
you guys got your shoes off. That's all that matters. I'm going to touch back a little bit. I finished up Deadlight. Just kind of want to talk about
yes.
the last level on that one.
Yeah.
I played some of the Dust.
Some of the dust.
I bought it actually because that game is pretty.
Yes.
Kung Fu Strike, which is a game that's not out yet, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well.
That's a downloadable one.
And it's for XBLA. It's
Okay.
coming out, I believe, on the 5th
of September, yeah.
And then I got some Darksiders 2 as well.
Cool.
But to kick it off, I just want to give a shout out to Lunchbox Spagoli Driver John. Where he was
He's like
playing
8 names.
Yeah,
He's like your clan.
He's getting there. He's getting there. He doesn't have. He's got 3, but we'll let it slide. But he was playing some Full House Poker, so I joined into the game where he was. It was during the Texas Heat, and battled to get to the table he was at. Finally got to sit at the table with him, and he got to witness a really nice hand. And I was just like, this. And I wanted to let
nice hand that you won?
Yeah, I wanted to let him know to quit betting against me, but then I was like, I want his money.
You're terrible at poker.
I know I am. I know. I felt bad, but I'm like, because he kept going against. I'm like, dude, you ain't gonna win. But it was really awesome. I was that was my million chips achievement. I finally got it.
Oh,
I've been
nice.
really close, but that one you had to get over.
You got
it.
him at his cost,
It was him and another guy. Him and another guy.
but he was part of it.
Yeah, and he
Yes.
stayed on the table. The other one didn't. So he was lucky. And I think he bowed out. He folded at the end there. So It was a lot. That was a good night of poker playing too. So.
I did start up World of Keflings to try out the FameStar stuff.
Nice.
They had a lot of stuff listed on there, and apparently they change. Some of them are just ongoing challenges. Some of them are weekly challenges that change, and they have a little countdown timer for it as well.
Awesome.
They can earn you rewards. I was very sleepy and fell asleep standing
while you were
amongst
playing?
my Keflings.
Well, at least they keep working, right? While you're sleeping.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, there were large piles of wood sitting around and stuff like that. So I didn't get to play much with it, but the challenge it is a whole new area that you can open up. You can just choose it directly from the front menu.
Cool.
So if you want a new kingdom to build around in, cool stuff.
Awesome. Should we jump in?
Let's talk about some indie games. Before we talk about some specific ones, I wanted to point out that the Indie Uprising is going to be starting here in early September. New game coming out every day, I think every weekday is what they've planned for 2 weeks.
I believe so, yeah. It's a large number of games.
Took a look at the lineup, last week when they announced it or whatnot. I don't remember the titles for games, but some really cool stuff in there. Again, like the last couple Indie Uprisings, they're really aiming for breadth of diversity in games. So, not everything's going to be for you, but there's probably something that will appeal to you in there. And I like that tactic that they're using to approach.
Me too.
Not that they haven't had a lot of offerings on there, but it's just something of late. It's been a little weird.
Like a little lighter for you?
Well, maybe just certain games aren't appealing to me.
Sure.
In that, like, maybe
I've been running that same rut too.
Where I'm just like,
not enough Avatar-based games.
Those are just fun, but I don't know.
Because Milkstone just came out with another one.
But it's the absence of Radiant games and like the some of the ones that were just the stable that we were getting
and maybe
redos of.
There are some new stables though.
But,
I'm starting to recognize a lot of developer names now.
I agree with you. It's it's weird that of late it just seems a little. I don't know. Maybe people are holding off for the Uprising. These new games.
There might be some really high profile ones that have gotten grouped into that Uprising. I don't really know, but that starts in a week or two.
Something like
is that right?
Yeah,
beginning
awesome.
of September.
Yeah,
first, second week of September. We'll have a link up to there to the site as well on our show notes. Check that out.
I'm very excited about it.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm going to start it off here with an indie game, Human Subject by Brian Hendo. Sells for 80 Microsoft points. And essentially, this is a side-scrolling platformer obstacle course. So it's not a genre that we're unfamiliar with in the indie game marketplace. What I liked about this one, what caught my eye about this one, because I pass over a lot of these side-scrolling platformer obstacle courses, was sort of their little spin on it in that you're going through this obstacle course because you're being tested by these aliens who want to invade the Earth, and so they're basically testing your prowess, and they claim they're testing the prowess of a bunch of other people as well to kind of determine how easy it would be to take over the Earth. And I just thought that was kind of a cool concept to it. And there's little announcements, like they have a female computer voice announcing things like at the beginning and the end, and I think they're going for a bit of a GLaDOS spin, or at least I was reminded of GLaDOS from Portal. And so there's some funny comments there, and it's a nice little incentive, a nice little flavor to the incentive because it's essentially a time trial thing.
Okay.
You want to get your best time every time. And so it's a nice little spice to the incentive to get a better time because, the better time you have, the more intimidating the Earthlings are going to seem.
Nice.
And yes, I thought that was pretty cool. Graphically, it's pretty tight. The parts that I played in the demo, you're running around in these test areas, and they're platforms as you expect. There are also these terminals that you can switch on and off to do various different things, make platforms appear or disappear, stuff like that. Sometimes the terminals are just hanging in midair, so it's a little logistically awkward, but it's kind of a cool tactic for a platformer like this because you'll have to be going and then jump through the air and hit the terminal as you're passing by it, and hopefully something will appear under your feet. Usually,
nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And one thing that I liked, at least in the demo part, I don't know if this changes later on, but there wasn't any death in the runs, so it wasn't like you died. Instead, what they had set up was this teleport beam, and so every once in a while you pass like a glowing purple point, and that was sort of an exit point for a teleport beam, and then they look like lasers, but instead of dying from them, you just get teleported back to that exit point. So that was kind of a nice thing. to temper off some of the frustration that can happen with these games as you have to, as you fail over and over and over again. And it kept the game moving, at least gave a better impression of the game moving. The whole thing was a little slow paced for me. Like, just moving around was a little slow. It was okay, but in comparison to a lot of other similar games these days, which are kind of moving towards the faster end of things, and getting through a level, bam, bam, bam. This seemed a little more methodical, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of a surprising thing to me, because again, like I said, the tendency these days is to go towards faster. So I liked it. If you're looking for another platformer to play, it's only 80 points, and I think you can get quite a bit of play out of it.
Cool,
nice. I don't have anything.
Oh, you don't have anything?
No.
Oh,
you're all indie.
You are, yes.
Well, okay, so then the second game I want to talk about is Spyleaks from Heartbit Interactive. There's one of those developers that I'm starting to recognize over and over again. I can't remember what I recognize them from, though, unfortunately. Sells for 80 Microsoft points. As you can probably guess by the title, it has something to do with spies.
What?
Spyleaks is this organization. I think this is set in like a near future or whatnot. I don't know. It's but Spyleaks is like this organization that's trying to stop, evil people from doing things, basically. Basic concept there. Sorry, that was a terrible description. 2 characters in the game. There's Jules, who's kind of the leader of Spyleaks. In my experience with the demo, he was largely just kind of talking to you, walking you through things. Like, a little video screen of him next to it. But from the screenshots that I've seen, he appears to take a role later in the game as well. And then the aptly named Spy, who's his best agent.
Yes.
And you control through most of the game.
Is he the one that's
demo.
trying to stop bad things from happening?
That is correct.
Evil
things from happening.
Doing the things they do.
So it's got a definitive retro look to it. Everything's kind of an overhead gameplay. And there are 3 different types of games in the game from the description. I only played one type of game, and I saw 2 of them in the screenshots. But so there are these puzzle rooms. There are also these vertically scrolling shooters. And then it claims there's also these sort of beat the clock escape games as well. Like there's like something like 25 puzzles, 5 shooters, and 5 escapes or something. Okay. They broke it down. Whatever. Nice. And so all I got through was some of the puzzle rooms in the demo. What's nice is that you can actually continue in the demo, because there is a long sort of intro that was kind of fun to watch at the beginning, but it's auto-saved, and then when I went back and to replay a little bit to remind myself about the game, I actually found I could just continue from the place that it was.
View that all again.
Yeah, so that was nice. So you can get a better taste of the demo. And so with the puzzles, man, some of them can be tough.
Yeah.
Largely what I had to do in the puzzle rooms I played was, get Spy. He was infiltrating this embassy, and so get Spy to the exit door, essentially, to get to the next room without being, and so he had to overcome obstacles, he had to avoid enemies, and he had to avoid getting shot.
Okay.
And so you're moving through this room, and there are anybody who sees you will do some sort of reaction. So there can be just regular clerks, and they'll see you, and they didn't seem to do a whole heck of a lot because they're just clerks. So, but like an exclamation point would appear over their head, and they might be able to raise an alarm maybe if you stay in their field of vision for too long. And their field of vision is directly in front of them. Everybody's field of vision is directly in front of them. As it's retro, so it's fairly grid-like.
Okay, so like the line in front of them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But then there are also guards, and guards can run over to you. They don't. From one guard that I experienced, they just kind of hold you in position or something like that. They seize you. I don't know if something bad happens if you stay there. There are also these robots, and they do the same thing. There are, however, robot sentries that will shoot at you, and stuff like that. So you want to avoid that, and so you do that by being sneaky and making sure you stay out of their line of vision, but also using objects and movable things to kind of block fields of vision. And you also get these tranquilizer darts and sort of these electronic stun things as well that you can shoot into enemies and then push them around to use them to do things like trigger buttons or get them out of the line of sight. And so you're trying to make sure you can get all the doors open so you can get to the exit safely. And some of them can be really challenging, and I would go over and over and over and kind of give it another shot and figure out something new. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. There's a lot of trial and error involved, and overall it was very fun.
Cool.
And the whole thing was just pretty lighthearted and fun, and I recommend checking it out.
I will check it out because
I think you would.
I saw a couple screenshots from it and I really liked how it looked. So I was hoping that somebody's going to talk about it because I want to know how it played.
Yep,
I will do that.
Yep, I don't remember what Heartbit did, but I remember them because whatever game they did before that I played, I enjoyed.
You enjoyed.
Yeah, so
well, that's good.
Yeah, I remember. I'm like, I should remember these people, and I did. Success,
and you do.
Yes. So the indie game I want to spotlight this episode, however, is The Fourth Wall from GZ Storm. Also sells for 80 Microsoft points. I'm on a budget this week, apparently.
You are. Not as much as us. We didn't even try anything.
Yeah. So, how to explain The Fourth Wall? The Fourth Wall is...
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because I saw it, and I saw the screenshots.
Right.
And it looked terrible. But it had a good rating.
You might think that. And
the description gives you nothing.
Yeah, I had a weird reaction, too, because I'm like, what is this? Yeah, because I looked at the screenshots as well, and I'm like, huh?
Right, and
I'm like, I'm gonna try this out just to
coupled
see what
with the
it's
terrible description where it's just like it gives you no information.
It says what is beyond the fourth wall.
Yeah, and that's the entire description for the game. So let me know what's going on with this game.
I will let you know.
It's another wall.
So it's essentially the best way to describe it would be like kind of an abstract horror game.
Okay.
In some sense. And so what I liked it. I purchased it and played the rest of it. Now you can actually get through probably about half of the game in just the demo. It's not a very long game at all. But what made it worth it, spending the 80 points for me is that it is genuinely eerie and really creepy. Like it creates a very visceral response. Yeah, I mean there are a couple pop out moments, where I would do a little knee jerk, but that wasn't what impressed me because that shit doesn't impress me. That's just going to be an automatic reaction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But there are times where I was just walking around, nothing in particular was happening, but the atmosphere just kind of came together at this point where all the hairs on my arms just started to raise, and I was getting really tense as things were going on.
I don't like that.
And it's not a straightforward sort of, there's a monster chasing you horror. It's far more abstract.
Unsettling.
I was reminded of when I watched David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which I didn't like particularly, but definitely
I love that
had a reaction, for it.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, something's not right.
Yes. And there are a lot of unexplained things.
Okay.
And I did some research into the game. This is how much it intrigued me.
Yeah.
And apparently the game developer made it specifically as sort of a collection of the things that this game reviewer who does like these YouTube videos of him playing games and sort of reacting to horror games and whatnot, of his fears. And the things that he fears the most are things that are unexplainable. If he can't conceptualize it.
Like you can't reason.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of that going on, and it had a great response. It can be a little challenging at times trying to figure out what you want to do, or because it's a little bit of a puzzle as well.
Okay.
And you have to think very outside of the box and really just kind of react to and so that was a nice touch as well, because that kind of distracted you, or me at least, and so I would get very into sort of trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do next? And then all of a sudden, like something strange would happen, and I'm like, oh, what's going on?
You're making me not want to play it, though.
No, but it's short.
It's short. It's making me, but you're unsettling me just describing it.
It's fun. I liked it. I like being unsettled. Yeah, I mean, many will probably find it frustrating, though, because it is very abstract and looks kind of artsy and can be challenging at points. But, here, I'll describe part of this. This is in the demo, and it might help overcome some people's frustrations when they start. So, you start off, you're just in this weird void area with these glowing cubes floating in the sky and this weird digitized ground, and then there are these 3 walls in front of you. One's white, one's black, and one's staticky.
Okay.
And then there's no wall behind you, and you look down, and there are arrows coming from the black wall and going off to where there's no wall, and so you walk off in the distance, and all of a sudden, like, you're in this room where all the walls are the word wall, and the doors say door and floor and all that, and you open the doors, and like 3 of the doors, as you open them, put together, you will die, and like in the 4th one, something pops, like this ball thing like shoots out and flies up, and then you walk through that door, and then all of a sudden it's black, you can't see anything, and then all of a sudden these giant eyes start opening and like looking around and blinking, and you can't figure out where things are. And for a while I was just stumbling around in that room trying to push forward, left, right, back, and trying to find like a door or something like that. And then I kind of heard like this ringing sound, and I think it was in stereo sound, so I kind of tried to follow it, and I started to look up, and I noticed there was like this light upwards, and it kind of looked like a tunnel, and so I looked up at that, and I'm like, all right, well, let's try this. And so then I started pressing up, and I was moving closer to it.
What is going on?
And then you grab this thing, and then you like plummet, like all of a sudden you're back in the main area, but you're like up in the sky, and you plummet to the ground.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
So it's messed up.
I mean, it's unexplainable things. So it's going to frustrate a lot of people, I'm sure, because there's not really an attempt at story here. It's really all atmosphere.
Gotcha.
But I thought it was extremely effective in its execution of it,
That's cool.
especially for a low budget. Now, I also found out that this was originally designed for the PC. So there was something that happened towards the end in the PC version that is impossible on an Xbox, just because of the difference between the ways a PC would run a game and the way an Xbox would run a game. So he kind of had to, he makes some sort of apology because he tried to do, the best fix for it, and it still was kind of came together in the end in a cool way. Very short, like I said, but creates a very visceral response, and it might not be a visceral response people want, everybody wants. But I found it very enjoyable.
Cool.
And interesting enough and different enough from everything else that was coming out on indie to kind of give it the spotlight this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
No problem.
I will check it out now beyond those screenshots that I saw.
You should try it out
I will.
just for a little bit. You might
But you're
hate it.
unsettling me a bit.
You might hate it, and you might stop like after 2 minutes, but I think you should at least give it a shot.
I will.
That's the best part about indie. You
Yeah.
can just try it out
That's
and
right.
erase it.
Exactly.
It's done.
Yeah, I was getting all unsettled, and at first I thought, well, is this because I'm playing it at night? And then I replayed the part after I bought it. That stuff still unsettled me during the day. So it was good.
I am a baby, though, too. I'll get scared.
Okay.
I'll try not to. We'll see how it goes.
Bring your teddy bear with
I
you.
will. I will hold something and squeeze it.
Paddington.
Wait, what? All right. So is that it for indie?
Yes.
XBLA?
Yes.
You want to touch back on Deadlight?
Little shout out to Deadlight at the end. You were talking about
Dead
how
Night Light?
you were talking about the last kind of levels.
Yeah, because when we talked about last episode, you hadn't finished it yet,
No,
and
I
I
was
finished
close,
it and was talking
actually.
about how
Yeah.
the last portion of the game does not do the game justice, and it's
it's
a bad
really-
note to leave on the game.
Yeah.
So you finished it,
Yeah.
and do you agree with my assessment?
I agree wholeheartedly because it's a totally different element because they add the villains with guns.
Yeah.
So it's a little then the trial and error, the retry, it just becomes to the point where it's like,
Yeah, that seems a weird sort of direction to take based on what I experienced from the demo.
Well,
That's
you're
the sort of things that it highlights. I mean, story-wise, I'm
Yeah.
sure it makes sense, but
total sense
in terms of
story-wise.
gameplay, that would not be something I would anticipate coming up towards the end.
Yeah.
the gameplay completely changes in the last
Right.
section of the game,
Yeah.
and that's part of the problem that I had with it was, you're kind of in this. In the first 2 chapters or first 2 parts of the game, you're moving forward, and you kind of would come into rooms and it kind of be like, oh, figure out what to do in this room, and you take a second to kind of look around and what you have to do and like find things. In the last chapter, it's all about move forward as fast as possible for the most part. So you would come into a new room and you would like, okay, I'm going to look around, and you would die because things are falling apart or things are falling down, and it's all about you have to move through and maneuver as fast as possible.
Sure.
And they don't explain that.
Yeah.
They just do it. So you ultimately end up dying every time it happens because it's completely the opposite of how you've played the game up until that point.
Yeah, and then you gain spoiler, but you gain an AI character towards the end there, and
Yeah, it becomes an escort mission in some parts of the end too.
and she's not terrible. It's just that if you do die, which you do at the end there, what she she'll be really fast in front of you. Like, let's say you pass a checkpoint, and that's how I always knew that I was past a checkpoint, because she would slow to almost a halt. And then she'd be behind you. So, like, you're like, well, catch up. But then when you die eventually, she's flying in front of you running. And so now you're like, well, I got to catch up with her. So it just added to the frustration that I was already having with some of these rooms that you just open a door and you're dead. So in the end, the story was, I kind of liked the story. It had a cool vibe to it. It was very zombie movie vibe game, or infected or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Shadows. But, you know, that end really just kind of, it took me off. I mean, I finished it, but it just kind of took me.
I honestly think that's where most of the negativity from the game's coming, is that it ends on such a terrible note, in my opinion, that you completely brush by everything that's done in the beginning couple of chapters and remember that last 15 minutes, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a bad way to end the game.
And, like, that's the thing, too, is, like, I want to go back because some of the levels, you know, I really are close to getting 100% on, but then I'm like, that one I don't, because I'm like, there's some rooms I don't even know if there was another route somewhere, and because I didn't.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, it's all about these collectibles and all these, like, why am I going to want to bother with that end game when it's all about perpetual forward motion and worrying about trying to also find stuff at that time?
Yeah.
It's just kind of annoying.
So, but there's things to take out of that game.
Yeah.
Good. Definitely.
I've just got a random question. Did they ever kind of give something that kind of gave a reason why they decided to set it in the 80s? I was always curious about it because they were very definitively, this is set in 1986, and you know there are a few style elements, but I was just curious as to why they decided to set it in the 80s rather than now.
No, you know, I do like, there's aspects I like about it in the fact of you don't have the technology thing.
You know,
so you know, so you're looking for people and there's no way to like reach anybody. Although you could reason that, you know, if there was an outbreak of some kind of sort, things would be down.
Later,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. They don't really give a reason. I think it's just a retro feel or look to it. But it's not even,
I didn't
even apply into the story too much.
Yeah. There really, it just was a date, which was, I thought was really, really weird about it.
I mean, other than maybe the handheld games.
The handheld games is really the only thing. Because there are those defined in the game, and those are very 80s, you know, feeling. I will say I like it in as far as it's a nice twist, as far as instead of being an apocalyptic future.
Oh, sure.
You know, like, some date in 2020 and this all fell apart.
Sure.
It's like the 80s and it fell apart. And so I like that.
Yeah.
Somebody should do a story from the 80s.
Because typically, you know, if you set something in the past, there's a reason for it. Because you want it set in some special way.
I think maybe just to be different.
No, it could be. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay.
I didn't think about it. In fact, I don't think we even mentioned it in, like, when we talked about last episode.
No,
because it's
not particularly.
And maybe that's to speak to more even like it doesn't even matter, because it wasn't even a point to bring up.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
Did anybody play Hybrid?
I didn't.
No, neither did I.
Just the beta.
I heard they were having those server problems when they launched last week, where basically you couldn't get on, and since it's a multiplayer only game, like you couldn't do anything. You couldn't even get to the menu for a little while.
That's handy.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they got it fixed, though, I think within a day. So,
nope, I did not check it out.
No, okay. Just curious. Then let's move on to Dust and Elysian Tail.
Yes, because I barely got to look at that.
Yeah,
and
you should look at it more.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, this is from,
tell me all about it.
This is from Humble Hearts LLC. I believe it sells for 1,200 Microsoft points.
It does.
Is that correct? Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. Full disclosure here, I got a review copy to play.
Yes.
But that said, I definitely would have purchased this game had I not had a review copy.
And Sean, you did purchase it.
I did.
So he would too.
It didn't take much. Really, it didn't take much at all.
Yeah. And originally this was meant to be a title released on the indie games marketplace. And if you kind of, you can kind of get that feel. It's definitely got a very indie feel to it.
Yeah.
But in 2009, it won the Dream Build Play Challenge, the little contest that Microsoft holds, and so they got contract to make an XBLA game. It's the prize for winning that, and so they've been working on Dust since 2009 to get. I should say,
it's like one dude, right?
Yes, it's basically this one dude, Dean Dotris. When the credits came up, and then it was that, and then it went to like XBLA crew. I'm like, what?
It's been a one guy.
What? Yeah, that's an amazing sort of achievement. And so then this year, it's kind of given what I would call the premiere slot in Summer of Arcade. The last slot
closing it out,
is usually their high profile game. So it combines a lot of elements that may seem recognizable, but does it in a very unique way, and a way that all those elements come together very nicely. At its very heart, it's a side-scrolling arcade combo sword slasher, sort of in the same vein as Dishwasher Vampire Smile and Blood Rain Betrayal, both of which I played review copies for. Actually, interestingly enough, I must be the side-scrolling sword slasher guy.
You are.
I liked the combo element a lot. They did a nice job. There's not a ton of different moves, but there are enough that you can string together a wide variety of things. And
it gets a little crazy. I'm glad there's not too many moves in the move set, because once you get some of those going, once you get propeller going and you're flying it gets to a little bit like, I'm glad this is just it,
right?
Because I don't know where I'm at now on the map. And
the different moves can be very useful. Things like the parry move to block moves, and then also getting up into the sky and doing air juggles and stuff like that. It's very useful to be able to use those moves, and so I thought they did a nice job of kind of making it, adding that challenge of you want to do the moves, but without making the moves super hard.
Exactly.
So getting those high combos was great, because those combos then add to the second element of the game that I wanted to talk about, which is the RPG-like experience and leveling system. So the hit combo that you build up then gets you bonus XP after you don't get a hit for like a second or two.
Yeah.
And then it gets you that. Although if you get hit during your chain, then it restarts at the bottom.
Yeah.
And there's an achievement for getting an over 1,000 hit combo.
Oh my!
I did it. It's actually not that hard once you get to certain areas.
Rolling,
yeah.
I was like, that seems pretty pretty beefy. And then once I got a little further in the game, I'm like, oh no, I could probably hit that.
Yeah,
I could probably get there.
I played a little bit of the demo, like I said, and I got into some of those combat situations where I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
It can get a little chaotic sometimes, but there are some moves that can be a saving grace. There's sort of a dodge roll that can get you out of the middle of a fray if you're getting lost in all the enemies. There's also, you have a sidekick, Fidget. I'm going to call her a sidekick. Yeah. And at first I was a little like, uh-oh.
Tails.
when she appeared.
Tails.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I'm like starting up this game. I'm like, okay, so I'm Sonic and Tails. I see what's going on here.
Kind of. Kind of.
No, it doesn't play that way at all. I mean, it looks like you're playing a cartoon.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think the character design is brilliant. And some of those enemies just looked fantastic.
Right.
So.
Yeah. We can come back to that in a bit.
Yes.
But what I was going to say is that Fidget has a ranged attack. You're only a ranged attack. And her ranged attack, like if you just press the B button, she'll just shoot out some stuff,
which was also funny.
Yeah,
that reveal thing. There's
a great amount of humor in the game. Yeah, but if you combine it with the Dust Storm, then it can do like this massive hit combo boosting element, and it's nice for knocking people back and sort of clearing the room a little bit in order to facilitate refinding yourself in a particularly chaotic battle.
Yeah, because it gets crazy looking. Yeah. I thought
it does, but that's kind of exciting. But so you get experience, and you can add these to different stats like strength and HP.
Fidget.
Fidget's not one you can add experience to.
Well, she's got a slot.
She has a slot, but there's also luck. In terms of the things that you can level up, so your character levels up. I think in my first playthrough, I got up to level 48 or something like that. And even when I got to those higher levels, and I'm like, well, gonna be slower leveling up. And then I started pushing through the story mode, and I'm like, bam, bam, leveling up like right and left, just because there was a lot of combat going on and a lot of people to fight, difficult people. But anyway, but yeah, I think HP, strength, defense, and luck are the ones that you can level up. However, you can also attach equipment which can increase stats, such as Fidget.
I thought she had her own. I thought it was orange, but I could be mistaken.
I don't think it's something you can actually change, though.
You can't put points into it? Because I played it on the demo, and it gave me an option to upgrade her.
Yes. I'm sorry, luck is the one that you can't upgrade. I'm sorry, luck is...
That's what I was thinking.
Because it beefs up her, like, attack,
you should have said that. That would have cleared me up right away.
Well, no, that's why I kept saying Fidget.
No, I know, but...
then I said color orange, I'm like...
Because I was sticking luck in that slot, and so I knew there were only 4 things that you could upgrade.
Yeah.
And I misplaced it. But, yeah, because I later on you get some equipment that can also boost Fidget's ability, can increase item drops, can increase gold drops, can increase experience points attribution. So, and there's also weapon and item crafting.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. It's not a huge element
Good,
in there.
because that stuff makes me crazy.
The big thing about it is that it can help you because the shops don't update a whole heck of a lot. And
I think it lines along with your leveling up because sometimes it was just like I'd go into a shop after I'd like leveled up like 3 or 4 times, and the next thing you know, it was like tons of new stuff.
Right.
And then there won't be anything there for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking maybe because you can sell items to the shop, and so sometimes you'll craft an item or find an item that is not in the shop yet, and you can sell it. And once you sell something to the shop, then they will continue to stock it. And what's nice is that they give you little updates on the bottom of the screen that tell you when shops have restocked things, because that's also a way to get rarer materials. Like if you find one rare material, you can sell it to the shop. You'll be out of it, but then they'll start getting it in, so you don't have to go searching.
Oh, nice.
You don't have to go grinding enemies.
That's kind of a cool
in order to pick that stuff up.
aspect.
Yeah,
You had to grind to get the money.
you did. Well, after a while, that was not a problem.
Exactly. I'm just saying. It's
Now, interestingly,
not even really
talking about the
grinding.
leveling up system, interestingly, this is the first RPG-like game with a leveling up like that where I haven't been like dumped stats into strength and to attack.
Yeah.
I started doing that at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I need to stop doing this right away. And instead, I started dumping it into defense and HP because if you throw it into attack, then you're killing enemies faster, which then reduces your chances to get high combos.
Oh, yeah.
Which then reduces your ability to level up faster.
So you really just want to stay alive for as long as possible,
exactly.
like with a high health, and then just completely stretch those battles out as long as
Precisely.
possible.
Yeah.
Now, I think they anticipated, or he, it was anticipated that sort of stuff might happen because you have a cap for how high you can level things up until you've at least put 1 point in every stat.
Okay.
At that point, you get a new bar and you can add something else.
So they keep you from like stacking it in one area.
Exactly. So you can't just like go fill up one thing all the way at the very beginning, or
cool.
as your first
I like
thing.
that.
Yeah, it was nice, especially because other than the levels, different levels requiring different amounts of experience points. These are big boosts too.
Yeah,
When you level up, that's a huge boost usually.
My only problem with leveling up, I think the effect is really nice because you get like struck by this giant bolt of lightning. The only problem, I leveled up as I was jumping over this chasm, and it hit me with the lightning.
Oh, really?
And I fell
Died?
down. No, I didn't die. I just fell down to a lower level. Which,
I don't think you can die from falling.
Okay.
No, I didn't die.
No,
'cause
I was just saying that in response.
I fell into
I don't
that
know.
chasm, and then I had to go back up, which
Right.
only unlocked the enemies again.
Oh.
Yeah, if you change rooms, then
yeah.
the enemies respawn.
So I was like, that was cool, but not really. But that's like my one nitpick of the game, I think. I think that was it.
Because it is styled like it's a Metroidvania kind of like map, right?
This is the third element I wanted to talk about, which is the sense of exploration and re-exploration, going back to areas
And
after
that's
you've
what sells me.
gained new abilities. Very reminiscent of the maybe more recent Shadow Complex.
Yeah.
And so I found myself just constantly revisiting places, and what's nice is that the map structure is very easy to read.
Yep.
It's got grids. You can't see within the room, the areas themselves, but so each box has a color coding, however, so blue ones have a save point there. Green, I think, was for a shop. There was something for yellow as well. I don't remember exactly what it was, but if there's treasure in the area, then there's a big open circle in the middle of it. And so even if you don't know where the treasure is, you very clearly know this is an area I need to explore or come back to later.
Yeah.
And so, you could very quickly, even when you're going into places from the world map, first it shows you the short map for it, partially so you can choose the entrance that you want to go in through. But, I was using that to kind of scan, okay, so where do I need to go still? And it also gives you percentages of like, how much you've found for treasure and space, because some of them have hidden rooms that do not appear on the map. Because generally you can see an exit in a direction, and so even though you're like, I have no fucking clue how to go down in this room,
right?
I should be able to go down at some point.
See, I love that style.
Yeah, it's like there's a room right there. It's not like as like Shadow Complex where you could see those little corners and nooks where you didn't get to.
Yeah,
this one is I still love the way that it's set up. Especially the demo kind of threw me off because you get the slide early on in the demo.
Oh,
and you don't get it in the game.
Oh,
So
really?
little
Yeah,
heads
because
up
I
to
never
players.
played the demo.
Yeah, it's a heads up to players because I bought it on like outright. I didn't finish the demo, but I got to. I'm like,
You get that within like the first 2 minutes of the demo.
They parcel out the big, because it's broken into chapters, and pretty much every chapter you get a new major ability.
yeah. So I just a little heads up on that one
because you'll have areas where you want to use it. But
you'll
you can't
see
use
it, and you can't
You see
even
that
use
stuff
it.
all the time.
Or like the double jump was another one where like
Oh yeah, because in the demo I'm like, well, you can get all over the place. You start with a double jump.
Oh,
in the
man.
demo.
yeah. So
No, sir.
yeah. So
That makes more sense.
Which really actually made me even enjoy buying the game.
Yeah.
That more because I was like, this is totally different than the demo, and the challenge is even more. Like, I'm not like I got to go through these levels again. I'm like, I got to go through these levels, but
I can't go up there right now.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that one I really liked about it. It almost is getting me into this. Since you can't see every nook and cranny, it's almost got me in this. Like, I got to draw my map out or get the grid, my grid paper out.
Yeah.
So I can mark stuff a little bit better and say, hey, well, that's where a sheep got left or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But which only makes me like this game even more.
Right,
you know, is that kind of mentality is pull me back to that. Back in the
And you
day
really got to
type of thing.
explore every corner and
Yes.
really try things out. You know, sometimes a wall, it can be busted down and you don't quite realize it. There was one room that I just kept returning to. I'm like, where the hell is the treasure? I've searched every corner. And then I was just kind of goofing around and getting frustrated and swinging my sword, and it bounced off of a wall and it made a different sound. I'm like, oh, shit. It was right there all the time.
I love it.
And so to get back to, you were talking about the design a little bit. It's got I find it an extremely appealing design. Looks more like traditional animation than it does necessarily pixel animation, which again then is even more astounding when you think about, you know, the way that the game was made, and that was essentially made by one dude. It's got beautiful environments. I loved all the environments. Sometimes I get a little confused about what I could jump onto and what I couldn't, but that wasn't the major problem for me.
Or like things in the background versus what's in the foreground.
Yeah, or sometimes like the corner of things, like the ground would kind of slope off, and I couldn't really jump onto this one curved part of the ground.
Gotcha.
But if I jumped a little further over, it was fine.
I love the way that it looks really good like that. I mean, and you almost are kind of like looking at the background. And you just kind of sit back and enjoy it. There's a couple like very, very just colorful neon type rooms, and it's really the sound too, like the soundtrack to it is very like
it's very fitting. It's very appealing.
Oh, and calming.
It drives
and
it.
just kind of like
and it changes appropriately, and genuinely good voice acting throughout.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, a really good set of voice actors. That can turn me off on a game. Not turn me completely off, but it can be a source of constant frustration on games where you have
Stop
to
talking. I just want to keep hitting things.
Exactly. Especially because there's quite a bit of story and dialogue and character interaction in the game, and so you end up with, you know, and I would listen to them instead of trying to fast track through it. Even though they have the words on the screen, I would still listen to them because it was well done.
I thought all the
no Nolan North anyway.
Yeah,
amazingly.
I thought
they can do it without him sometimes.
when Fidget first arrived, I was just like, oh,
I was a little unsure about that, but she grew on me very quickly.
Well, I think it's the humor between the two, between her and Dustin. Well, like,
correct.
The sword as well. But, the voice acting was good. Some of the characters are just a little bit like, but other ones you could tell.
Are you talking about the animation or the sound?
Well, no, just the sound. It just doesn't. You just run into like a couple characters here and there. Nothing bad. It's not bad. It's just you can tell it's just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Maybe that's the character. I don't know. Maybe maybe that's from living underground. I don't know. But really,
you're not judging.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But really, I really like how the story's unfolding for me.
I finished through the story, and I'm going through on my second playthrough now. Yeah, the story turned out to be very good. I like the ending a bunch. Spoiler: they do leave it open for sequels.
Spoiler.
But they talk about 5 swords like in the very beginning or something like that.
Wow.
So, and it's called an Elysian Tail. So I don't know if he has plans to do like 4 other games, but I would definitely play more of it.
Cool.
I put in over 14 hours on that first playthrough. I know. What the fuck?
It's hard not to, because
that's great.
You find yourself going back to other rooms.
Well, and especially when I got a new ability, I would just kind of go back through all the places where I hadn't found everything, and I'm just sweep through. I'm like, okay, can I do anything here? And it was kind of neat because as I started filtering things out, as I was moving towards my last ability to collect, I accurately predicted what my last ability would be, because I'm like, I can't fucking figure out what to do in these rooms. I'm like, well, maybe
It's gotta be
has something to do with this thing.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And then the puzzle aspect is really nice, and then they add in some other elements, like they've got a little flower time bomb thing that it's just like this little fruit that's hanging.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can use your blade to propel it, and then
It'll
just
float
it
and
floats
follow
next
you
to you,
around.
and sometimes they're timed. A lot of times, if it's out there a long time, it'll
Right.
just go to a timer. And the minute you pick it, it goes to a timer.
And they also,
which is really neat to try to get it to that wall that needs to blow up.
because you have to use it to blow up walls, and you can also use it to blow up enemies.
Yeah.
I think this is an achievement for blowing up 6 enemies with 1 bomb at the same time.
Maybe that was just 5. It was a whole.
You had a whole
slobber-
mech?
Oh, I had a whole slobber knocker, and I just started spinning. And next thing you know, that thing came flying and just blew it up. I was like, "Ooh, thank you."
But what's also cool is that they also function as lanterns.
Yes.
If you're in caverns and such, they light up the screen quite considerably.
Yeah, look for red moss with that thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I love. There's a ton of side quests as well. Things for they're largely fetch quests, and some of them can be solved to be like, oh, I need 5 imp pelts. Okay, walk over to the store, buy 4 more imp pelts. Here you go.
Yeah,
Well, that's handy. So you don't have to go like farm it all out.
Right.
Like
But there are some to go retrieve people and go specific places to retrieve
yeah.
things.
But you can just stack them up, and if you go to that place
Exactly.
and meet them, then it just marks and say, "Hey, go talk to that other person." It's like, okay,
Cool.
but I like that. It's just really, it's very low key, laid back type of questing.
Yeah. Cool. It's very nice. And then
It feels like it's part of the story. Is what I'm
there are
saying.
treasure chests throughout that you need specific keys to find. So that keys are a collectible. One I was prizing very greatly. And the chests contain they can contain items that are pretty good items. They can contain blueprints for items. And
Other keys.
other keys. Sometimes that was always nice.
I was like,
lots of
cool.
money,
Yeah.
food, healing.
I was getting stressed out in the unlock thing. Like,
Really?
do you guys have a problem
I
with
found that really laid back for a quick time event. Because when you go to unlock something, especially for the treasure chest ones, because I thought they gave you a ton of time for it.
I think I just hit something wrong and it like wasted a key. Does that happen?
Yeah,
Like, do you waste a key?
Yeah,
if that
I've
happens?
wasted 1 key.
Yeah.
Okay, I hit something wrong and then I was all panicked. I didn't have any
Sure.
further problems, but I
Right,
think I
right.
was like, oh no.
Yeah, I thought they gave you a big amount
But I'm
of time.
used to
actually
those
get
kind of
through it.
games
Yeah.
really limiting you on the number of keys that you have.
Right.
Is it the case where you have a bunch? Because then I found an area that had like 3 keys all in one thing, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's going to be a
ton
lot.
of keys. There may be more keys than there are chests.
And
Okay,
I think
so it's not. You can have errors.
I think that is the case, but it's the now. Where was that chest at? You know,
Right.
like where was
Yeah.
it at? Like I know,
Like, if
where
you
it's
run
at
out at
on
the
the
time.
map,
Yeah.
but where was it at?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And you can buy a few keys in the store. However, they do not resupply keys in the store. I was sad to find out for 3,000 a pop.
Teleport things too. I
Yeah,
like
the
those.
teleport crystals,
Yeah.
because you can use save points to just leave an area, which was very nice later in the game. I didn't use it early on, but it was nice later in the game when I was just going around kind of scrounging for treasure, so that I wouldn't have to walk all the way back to the exit. I could just find a save point and exit there. But another collectible are, however, friends that you find in cages. Those require 4 keys, and that's where I was hoarding my keys for.
And those
I'm just saving these keys to open cages.
Yeah.
And not to get
So
too
what they do,
spoilery, they just kind of pop out. They're fun little shout outs to other games mostly.
Oh,
and,
that's awesome.
And if you look at the environment as you're going up to the cage, or read notes, because you can find these notes throughout, and pay attention to the notes, because they always tell you about some secret thing or some future thing that's going to happen, and they're very useful.
That's awesome.
Like, I solved most of my stuff, like most of the difficult ones, by reading notes. There's one thing after I beat the game that I discovered when I was going back through my notes. So I'm going through on my second playthrough. I'm going to try this out. I'm like, holy shit, secret room over here.
Nice.
But and so the friends go hang out in the sanctuary, and you can go hang out with them. Like, there's an achievement for getting all 12 of them. But they're neat little shout outs to other indie games. And if you look at the environment around the cage, you can often guess
Figure out
who's
what
going to
they
be
are.
there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I got 2, but nothing. Just the 2.
There was one where I'm like, God damn it, because you needed you get these resonance crystal keys that will open these particular gates, and so they have to be color coded to the particular gate. And so, there's this one where I'd be like, all right, I got that other resonance key that I saw I needed. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get this guy, go through those 2 gates, and then get to a new kind of gate. I'm like, shit, So then I wait longer in the game, get another key. I'm like, all right, let's go get this guy finally. Another gate. Shit.
So he was really locked behind.
He was really locked in there. And I can completely guess who it was. It was very clear who it was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it, I want to get that guy.
That's awesome.
They don't do any. Oh, they do give you a health boost. You get a 5% health boost.
But it's really just the collecting.
And they just kind of walk
Yeah.
around and hang out.
Yeah.
That's
And just
awesome.
chill with
Someone
you.
play
You
music.
guys make me want to play this game.
It's fun.
You should.
I know, but I
really
got too
fun.
much other shit going on.
No, you should make some time for it.
I know.
It's an incredibly good game.
I agree.
And, you know, it's very focused, delivers on a lot of fun elements, and very addicting. I put almost 15 hours into
the single playthrough.
one play, and I've
Yeah.
already started a new playthrough.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
It's good to hear.
I guess a quick addition here to XBLA.
Yeah.
Because I only just discovered it a few hours ago.
Oh, that's right. Expendables.
The
I forgot already.
Expendables 2, the video
Sorry,
game.
2.
Which is a co-op twin stick shooter game, which is a prequel to the new movie, I guess.
I'm sure that's important.
It says the conclusion of this leads up to the beginning of the movie.
Okay, so play this before you go see the movie.
Exactly.
Two guys out there.
And so, you know, they got the
it's more than
they got the
two.
like
I know.
they got the likenesses.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
They got the likenesses of 4 guys. Stallone and Lundgren are in there. I don't know enough about the movie or actors to be able to identify the other 2 guys. I believe they have impersonators for the voices,
Probably.
but they're pretty good impersonators.
Okay.
And it reasonably sounded like Sylvester Stallone.
That's someone's like dream job. What are you talking about? We need something that sounds like. I love that. I'll do it. What are you doing?
It sells for 1,200 points, I believe. I'm wondering exactly how long it is because I think the achievements list 4 levels, and the demo, I'm guessing, is a complete first level. And so that didn't take me too long.
So maybe not too much to it.
Yeah, I was having a bit of a hard time with aiming because it's a twin stick shooter, but it's at sort of a 45-degree angle looking in at sort of a thing, and the camera slides around a little bit, and except for a few guns, you don't really get any sort of pointer that tells you exactly where you're pointing at. So I found I was relying more on the shotgun and moving close to guys. But then later I was using a grenade launcher, and it seemed to be locking it on pretty well to where I was wanting to shoot. So I don't know if it tries to focus a little bit more on where the enemies are. Just hordes and hordes of nameless foreign guys to shoot.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if your dream is to hear a Sylvester Stallone impersonator shouting out one-liners that you would probably hear on an open multiplayer session of Call of Duty, this will fulfill
This
that
is
for
it?
you. Yes.
Finally.
Your ship has come in. So, I don't know. It wasn't bad. It reminded me a little bit of Renegade Ops.
Oh, sure.
It's very frenetic. There's a lot of things going on. It did a decent job of teaching me how to play. I wished it would have taught me how to play a little faster. Like, it takes the entire first level, or the first part of the first level. I'm still not sure if that's a complete first level.
Right.
I think it is, actually, because they do the achievement. I was going to say threats, but appeals. It's like, oh, you can get an achievement if you buy
Tease.
the game, right? Tease. Thank you. There you go. Threat. In my mind, it's a threat.
It's a threat.
Buy it, or else you won't get this.
You won't get
You'll
it
have to
ever.
replay it. And what was I saying? Oh, I don't even remember.
The full level. Or I think you were talking about how they took a long time through that whole level to give you to explain
train
everything.
me, yes, for everything. And I'm not sure, but some abilities may be doled out to different characters. So I played through on single player offline. So you can just keep it open as an open match and have people just randomly join. Even when you play a single player offline, all 4 characters are there, and you can jump between the characters using the D-pad, which was kind of nice. And if a guy goes down, you can revive them fairly simply by holding X. There's one time where I was the only guy left standing, and I ran over to the center guy to try and heal him, and I healed all 3 guys at the same time.
Nice.
So kudos. Awesome. And the enemies were a little funny when, I think they're still trying to shoot at you, and I think if they shoot you, they might interrupt the heal. But a lot of times I would watch, a computer guy healing another computer guy, and an enemy would walk up and just kind of look at him. Like,
he was waiting.
It looked like he was standing over. He's like, how's it going here?
You getting there yet?
Yeah. So the AI, a little goofy. There are times where you could just stand in front of like a truck and wait for the guys to jump out of the back of the truck so you could shotgun them.
Nice.
They have finishing moves too. If you hold down X, they have their signature moves, which were kind of ridiculous. I don't know. That was goofy. You can pick up weapons as you're running around. I don't know. A lot of chaos going on. I think it would actually be fairly fun. It runs pretty well. Other than kind of having a hard time aiming with some of the automatic weapons.
Yeah.
And that may have just been my impression. I don't know. People were getting hit. I have no idea who was hitting who.
It was just
guys
happening.
were dying. It was hell.
They were expendable.
So I think it actually would be fairly fun to play with other people. But yeah, I don't know. Check it out.
I guess.
Give it a try. I think they did some nice stuff with the level design.
It'd probably be more fun to play it than watch the movie.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe save your $10, $15 and don't go see it in the theater and just buy the game and play it.
Make yourself some popcorn at home.
And get it done.
Get her done.
Awesome.
All right.
But then you wouldn't know. You'd want to see Expendables too. That's why I'm not going to.
That's
try
the
this
trick.
Game. That's why I'm not.
You'll play it and you'll be like, now I got to see this movie.
I got to know how it ends.
I don't think so.
It ends like this. It's like 8 guys talking like that because nobody can talk anymore because they're all 75 years old.
And Bruce Willis is like, why am I even here? Oh, money.
Oh, that's right. I like a paycheck.
Oh, that's right. We have a restaurant together. You guys remember Planet Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I do remember. They still have that somewhere.
Somewhere.
A couple places.
I know they have like a Planet Hollywood casino and a Planet Hollywood at a casino across the street. It's so weird. Anyway.
Marketing.
I got some Kung Fu Strike. So Kung Fu Strike.
Strike or striker?
Strike. Just strike.
All right.
One strike.
Strikers would be like the soccer version.
Striker.
Yes, what's up with Kung Fu Strike?
It sells for 800 points. It's an XBLA game. It's got it's a little.
It's not
different.
out yet. So if you're looking on the marketplace,
it is out on
confused.
PC.
Okay.
I think that's a personal computer.
It is.
Okay.
It does. It stands for personal computers.
I can't believe I got it right. That's the
You
bad
can't
part.
either.
I was like, man, that can't be right, but it was. So it's out on PC.
I like how you wanted to translate it for those people out there who are like, PC? What is he talking about?
Politically correct.
You almost
clever.
You almost got that wrong.
I know, exactly. So,
But it is coming out on XBLA.
It looks like the 5th
of September. Yes.
what I've seen as dates. And it's a fighting game, and it's got kung fu in it, and essentially it's like this. It's almost kind of got like. It's not a side scroller. You have different levels, and it's hordes of enemies. Well, you might get 3 at a time, 4 at a time, 2 at a time. It's like when they're introducing new weapons too. Like they'll have one guy with like a bow staff, and then they'll have 3 guys after you beat that one guy.
So is it kind of similar to? Do you remember? That Tiger game. There was a kung fu game that it was one of the first 3D games or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's that 3D one, right, on XBLA.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks like that because I've seen some screenshots and stuff from.
I was just wondering if the level setup was similar.
It's got a very same style as most.
But that was a side scroller, right?
Yeah.
No, it was
Or
like
wasn't it from the
one
side?
set area. I mean, you could move around a little bit in that
Yeah.
area, but it was like one area where enemies would kind of pop in from different places.
And
This was
one
like a
you-
3D, right?
A little bit.
Like an environment that
I'd
you
say
can move.
almost like a
Okay.
2.5.
about 2.5
Okay.
because it's
That's kind of what
it's a little bit sides, back and forth, so your character just turns left and
Okay.
right. And you're just kind of fighting hordes. You go to like this temple. It's like, I need to speak with Master, and then everybody's like, no, you can't speak with Master, and he's like, I need to speak with him, and then you fight, and that's what every single time you fight, it's I need to speak with Master,
little similar.
and they're like, no, you can't fight, you can't speak with Master, so we're gonna fight. There was a really neat aspect. I haven't played too further into the game. I did get kind of stuck on one level where I just kept playing and playing and playing and playing it because most of the time you have your one boss that sits on the chair in the middle of that big arena.
Yeah.
And every time it's an arena, usually, and then you've got a boss. And the thing that I have a problem with is that boss will come out after you take down so many of the enemies.
Right.
So once you take out those enemies, the boss comes out, and then you have to fight him. Well, he has his own health meters, which is pretty longer than the rest of your other guys that you're fighting.
Right.
Well, the thing about it is, I'm like, well, I'll take out all the peons. Well, the thing about it, there's usually 2 always out there. So they'll come back into the game after you've taken everybody out. It's you against the boss. Then like 2 more will come in. So I've just kind of left 2 like barely dead, like walking, so I can just go hit them. You know, you have your X button's your main attack.
Okay.
You can, when you get into close combat, you can just keep your finger pressed on X, and it's like the kung fu thing, which is a really neat look to it. But sometimes it gets into the blocking, and you'll get these icons above the people you're fighting. It will be like your green button, which is your A button, which is as a jump attack.
Okay.
Which I'm not a big fan of jump attack. I want to jump and an attack. There's no jump. You jump attack.
Oh, you always have to do a kick.
Yep. So to jump out of a situation, no more. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You've got to use your bumpers, which is evade and block. So you've got to get evade down pat, because if you hit block, you're just going to stand there and keep blocking.
Yeah.
So you can roll out and do an evade. I enjoyed, like, right off the bat, it kept me into it. It wasn't until towards where I'm starting to have a little problem with it. I'm going to return to it. I want to play some more on it. But this one was just like a constant, like, these guys came out with bow staffs and just were beating me up. And you've got to get the combo system of the deflect and the block, the rolls, all that stuff down. And once you start,
so you hit the hard part of the learning curve.
Yeah, and I was just like, and it was like easy sailing up to that point, and I thought that the curve became a wall. I can get past it, you get over it, but that was one of my nitpicks about the game that really just drove me nuts.
The difficulty level just amped up.
Like it just amped to that point where I was like, okay, you had me, and now you're just gonna piss me off.
That could be deflating if you've been gone through like half the game or something like that, and all of a sudden, I guess I'm not good at all.
Yeah, you get this like sense. But there was this other nice little aspect to it, which I don't know if they're going to fall back, because it only happened the one time, where all of a sudden it turned to a side scroller. It had a lot of Azura's Wrath vibe to it.
Okay, yeah,
just with some of the fighting, because that was all button smashing when you're in, and you're trying to get those combos up, and that's kind of, again, you want to do that because you're going to get more points and all that, all the good stuff. But then when you all of a sudden you come to a side scroller and it's like a fighting game, so of course I'm trying to jump to him using my controller, although I've been using X or the A button the whole game, but it just, that mentality was there because I became just like, I'm playing Street Fighter.
Right.
Yeah.
The graphics are there. It's just some of that learning curve just kicked me.
Okay.
It just really kicked me. I'm going to play some more. I want to play a little bit because there's co-op and versus to it.
Okay.
So I'm interested in how the co-op works. But I think it's local though. I believe so.
Not online co-op.
I don't think it is.
And then there's versus multiplayer.
And I think that might be just local as well, which I don't know why. I don't know.
I thought there was online stuff with it.
It is offline co-op and offline 2 players.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's offline
So
only.
I mean,
That's interesting.
yeah, yeah. But $800, $10 game.
It does have online leaderboards.
Yeah.
Maybe you could invite me over sometime and I'll play with you. So we'll never talk
play
about that.
left, center, right. Dude. Seriously, you got to bring quarters over. It's a betting game.
I can't. I'm not allowed to gamble.
Yes, you are.
As long as I go to my classes, I can. I think.
Oh wow.
Okay.
But I thought it was good.
Okay, cool.
Kinda.
I like
Kinda.
I'm looking at the screenshots here. It looks pretty good.
It's cell shaded, isn't it? Like that kind of look.
Yeah.
to it?
I thought I dig the look, and I love how it's like, I need to talk to the master. They're like, no, you can't fight. It's just that reminiscent of all that,
Right.
in the old kung fu where people are just flying in, because
Yeah.
I like that too, because you'll just see the people sitting there, and so you take some people out, and then they come jumping in,
Right.
and you're like, well. And sometimes they jump in.
It's like
force.
a volleyball rotation.
Yeah, and so sometimes they jump in force, and then the big guy comes
holding
out.
up numbers. I want the replacements.
But I do want to meet the master.
Hockey lines.
I do want to get to that end point.
Yeah.
But that one level, you got to put it up, put it on the shelf for a second.
Yep.
Yeah,
You gotta step away.
Gotta step away a little bit. Invincible Tiger was the game I was thinking.
Okay. We would never have remembered that.
No, I
Nor would have anybody else at home. And they're liars if they think
I
they
liked
did.
that game. I've always, that's one game that I'm always like, maybe I should try that again, see if I want to buy it. If it wasn't the price for it, I probably would have bought it a long time ago. Anyway, now so we're done with XBLA.
I think so.
That is
yeah.
it.
Okay.
Other than your DLC.
Yeah, I got some DLC for XBLA. Quantum Conundrum, which I talked about a few episodes back, 2 or 3 episodes, I believe, from Airtight Games, came out with their first of 2 DLCs that they promised in the near future. The Desmond Debacle, which adds a new area to the mansion. You can access it just directly through the level select. In fact, I don't think you can access it any other way except through level select. But it's kind of weird though, because it just drops you right into like the first room. There's like no context. You see a name like the Desmond Debacle and you're like, crazy things are going to be happening here, right? Desmond is the name for the little drinky bird that you use to place on buttons.
Okay, yeah.
To activate buttons while you're away. And so I think all the puzzles involve using those. It was neat in the first one. You get to you have to climb up to this area and it looks like a big nest made out of wires. And there's like a giant drinky bird there and a bunch of small ones that you can grab from underneath it. It's kind of funny, but, there's no context going into it. Like they don't set it up as to why you're, running around this part of the mansion or you didn't before.
It's basically just like an extra puzzle room or something.
There's no narration or voice acting.
Oof.
I'm thinking maybe they didn't get to the guy who played your uncle in the game to come back for the DLC.
Right.
And that changes it a lot, actually.
Does it?
It strips a lot of the character of the game out. And it made it a lot more difficult. This shit was hard.
Really?
I'm not done with it. Yeah, because in the game, they didn't guide you through things, but every once in a while you get like a little bit of a hint or something to figure out, okay, so what I have to try to do in this room is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you hit that first room and I'm like, I got no idea. Hello? Anybody here? There's no real pointers. And so I had to explore a lot, which I don't mind, except that's kind of going against the grain of what the game had kind of built up for me before, where it was more about like nailing a precision run. And in fact, one achievement is for finishing all 5 levels and the rest are for like finding the collectibles, getting through without dying, doing their time runs and doing their minimum number of shift runs as well. And I'm like, fuck this. I hated that in the regular game because they didn't fix any of the platforming complaints I had about the game proper. I like the game. I like it a lot. The puzzles are great. It's a great concept. Their platforming leaves a lot to be desired in terms of being able to tell where you're standing, and falling off of things a lot, failed jumps.
So those are all still a problem.
Those are all still a problem that I was finding there. And on top of that, I found that the puzzles were very hard conceptually, but then there were also a lot of corners that you could get backed into where basically you're like, well, I guess I got to restart. Like, I could be safe, but not be able to do anything anymore. Like, I would be stuck in a place.
No.
And so, they ended up being like these huge sequence of things where I had to avoid lots and lots of dangers. Okay, here's essentially it. I got to this hallway. At the end of the hall, there's like a bunch of vertical lasers and like a safe on a pressure thing. In the middle of the hallway, there's some tempered glass. So you have to run up, grab the safe. Well, turn into fluffy dimension. You changed dimensions in case you forgot. Grab the safe, turn, and you pull it off the pressure plate, and then that activates the lasers to start moving forward. So you have to turn around, hurl the safe at the glass, and be sure to turn it back into a heavy safe. Otherwise, it's not going to shatter the glass. I found it was helpful to use slow-mo because there's another pane of glass underneath that, which just goes into a bottomless pit. So then you jump in there. After it shatters the glass, you jump in there. I would turn back to fluffy dimension, catch the safe, wait for the lasers to go by because they would still shoot at you down there. Then set the safe down, still fluffy, jump on top of it, switch to anti-gravity so I could get up because once the lasers get to the other end of the hall, they're coming back.
And this sounds like a pain in the balls.
Well, and so then I did that. It took me like a dozen tries just to get that far. And so then I got over there. I'm like, haha, I successfully beat the lasers. Run down to where the lasers were blocking. And I'm like, I can't fucking make this jump. and now the lasers have cut off my avenue of exit. Basically, I had to also, bring whatever I used to get me up, throw that across the pit, go to slow-mo, jump on that, and jump across that for the pit. Ugh. It was like a bunch of things that were non-intuitive, and there were no fail-safes. So, if you messed up and, destroyed your object, for example, or you threw it and your time was off and you wouldn't be able to make that jump, there's no secondary item that you could use.
It was just restart.
And that was really weird because I found generally in the main game, they did a good job of kind of covering your fail safes. If you screwed up, there's going to be something you could do in order to at least get to a reset point manually without having to do a specific restart.
Okay.
So I was getting kind of frustrated at these long sequences. I haven't even finished the second level. It's hard. It's really hard. And without sort of the gags in there, it's really stripped of a lot of things that... it focuses more on the difficult puzzles and the bad platforming.
Right, and not the character of the game,
exactly,
which propels you probably through more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be full disclosure here. If the whole game had been like this instead of the way that it was, I would not have liked the game at all. I would not have purchased it. It's frustrating. What is it with me and finding frustrating versions of decent games for DLC?
Yeah, it's where
maybe you should stop playing DLC.
Yeah, it's where they're putting DLC that's just making you hate the game that you're like, I enjoyed that.
No, it was the same frustrations I had in the game, but without anything else and ramped up, it was just I don't know. It's
no redeeming factors about it.
It's overwhelming.
How much was it? Did you say?
How much was it? I think it was 400 points. I don't remember now. I think it was I think it was 400 points because I don't think I didn't buy like $20 worth of points to buy it, and I have $5 left. So makes sense.
Cool.
Reverse math. All right, get to the disc portion here.
Let's do it.
Darksiders 2.
Actually, I want to talk about Spec Ops.
Spec Ops, that's right.
And then
Touchback.
We'll probably let him touch back even further then with some.
Oh yeah.
So Spec Ops, The Line. I finished the game, and if you go back and listen to our last episode, you can hear me raving about it. I was probably about halfway through it at that time. I finished it. It gets a lot more serious. That was my big drive for the game.
Right. Serious in terms of sort of...
serious in terms
making
of
you think about things rather than just handing you the cliche, right?
Correct. Yeah. And it's really a real situation where...
Well, because some people see serious and they're like, oh, tough and gritty.
Yeah.
Right.
Which doesn't really set it
and
apart.
And it is there. That is there. There is an aspect of that.
Sure.
It gets a lot more real, though, where you're really dealing with the fact that you're killing people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're in a survival situation, and you're kind of caught in the middle of these grade lines that people are walking, and you really don't know who is good or bad.
So this is the opposite of the Expendables 2, the video game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where
right.
you're just mowing down guys in there, and you don't give a rat's ass.
You're doing this, but you're like, at the time you're doing it, you're like, what are we doing?
Right.
We were doing what we have to do.
Well, I was that way in Expendables 2. I'm like, what are we doing? But nobody seemed to care.
Dude. I will say this though, the game. I wish that I could talk in depth with the game, but I don't want to rob anybody of the experience of the game because it is.
I was
brilliantly.
I've been following your tweets.
Brilliantly paced, and there is a complete de-evolution of character in this game, and I found that unbelievably entertaining and engrossing. And also really disturbing, and it was really well done. And the way that they affected me playing the game was brilliant because, and one of the things I'd mentioned on Twitter, which was really affecting me, and it was fantastically done, where they give you those loading bumpers where you have the loading shots, or like a screenshot. And so they give you little tips down at the bottom. Well, they started in as I was getting on further in the game, and maybe I wasn't paying attention earlier on, but I just started seeing some of them that were like, well, that's a little odd, and they were throwing up things like, hey, you feel like a hero yet? And I'm like, no, I don't. I feel terrible. And so the game was mocking me at that point of think about what you're, and they're throwing up these things of, it's just a game. Don't worry. Shoot everybody. They're not real people. And so it's all these fucked up things about how you look at it, but you're not, so it's also playing on how the game's reacting. It was really well done.
And you found that it seemed well, because one difficulty with having an actual character arc in a video game is that if that conflicts with the way that the player it can conflict with how the player interacts with the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Here's the thing. It's hard to say because you end up doing things in the game that I didn't approve of,
right,
or that I didn't agree with,
right.
But you were also choosing the lesser of evils,
okay.
And so is also the case of the character. So you were trying to do as little as possible and make these important decisions.
So did you find that your actions? Do you think your actions guided the character arc, or there was a character arc, and so you were kind of going?
I was being forced to still do things that I didn't necessarily want to do.
It's a hostage situation.
It was kind of, it felt like that. And then the game knew it, so it was mocking me at the time.
Right,
like, hey, so we're the big heroes, right? Like with totally winking at me and like telling me that I'm a loser. You're horrible. You're a terrible person. I'm like, I know, but I don't want to be. I didn't really like the ending. There is an end to the game that I didn't really like how it went, but the entire ride there was great. I just didn't like some of the stuff that they threw in at the end. But there are multiple endings you can get, and they make it easy to do all the different ones at the end, which was nice because I like those games that allow you a way with instead of just having to replay the entire game again, you can just experience those different endings, making different decisions. And there was an easy way to do that by just playing that last chapter.
Nice.
So that was nice. Again, the de-evolution I've never seen. I shouldn't say never because I'm probably not thinking of something, but you rarely see a character piece like this where you completely can just watch and participate in this whole like spiral or this whole transition that is just like disturbing. And you're a part of it, and they're making you do decisions, and you're almost experiencing the same thing as the character is. And so it was just really well done. It was smart, and it's a lot smarter than these games typically are.
Sure.
And so I highly recommend that everybody check it out. And I wish, hopefully, everybody can play it, and we can talk about it sometime.
Oh, definitely going to check it out. I was a little upset. I went to rent it after you talked about it on the last show. I didn't have a chance. Should have went back and tried it again, but to rent it, but. Then
there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Things started coming out, and I was just like, I want to play that.
It'll
game.
be around.
Yeah, definitely, and it should be. I should be able to rent it a lot easier, as time goes on. So I should.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. I didn't get to play it either because I was trying not to miss my chance to play Mirror's Edge.
Yes, that's right.
Mirror's Edge.
In 3 years, you can play it.
Let's wait 4. Let's just be safe there. Mirror's Edge originally came out in 2008, in case you don't know.
Right.
It was one of the early games from DICE. Is that correct?
No. They had done all the.
They had done
all the
Bad Company
or the Bad Company games. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think had only been one out before. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I remember. Yeah. Okay. I remember all the hype around Mirror's Edge when it came out.
It's a very different game for DICE.
It's a very different game in general.
Yeah.
And Sean, you and I played the demo, if I remember correctly. And Jeremy, you had a chance to play some of the game.
I did. I didn't ever finish it, but
right. What were your impressions of the game originally?
4 years ago. Let me try to remember here.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That's all about it I remember.
Okay. So if you forgot,
sorry,
if you didn't know or you forgot,
as you talk about it, I'll probably remember.
Mirror's Edge is a first-person parkour game. Essentially, is what I would. It's kind of it's a platformer. It's a first-person platformer, but it's set in sort of this near-future dystopia where everything's all bright and clean, but really there's corruption under it.
Right.
Cliches abound, and you are a member of the Runners who basically help underground movements or whatnot transmit stuff. That doesn't play a factor in there at all. Not one iota, because you just kind of go off on your own sort of missions after the first one. You ostensibly carry a bag in the first mission and hand it off, and it has nothing to do with anything else.
And then you're just running from people.
Correct. And so the Runners are kind of on the fringe of society, but the cops have ramped up, and now they're like shoot on sight for you guys. And story-wise, it's a complete mess. But that's not really what attracted me anyway to the game. It's more of its design and sort of this different sort of gameplay, which focused a lot more on moving around the environment and melee combat. However, you can shoot the guns, but it's not like you're going to pick up ammo or anything like that. If you empty out that clip, you're done with that
It's
gun.
very limited.
Yes. Yeah. And so usually that's just for short bursts or very intense places. There is an achievement for going through the game without shooting anybody. I unfortunately accidentally shot one bullet in this dude's shoulder as
nice
as I was trying to unload a gun in my first playthrough. very pissed off.
And you finished it, right?
I finished through, a playthrough, and I'm going back through and trying some more stuff out. Now, what I like about the game quite a bit is it's actually very much a puzzle game in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you'll burst out of a door onto a rooftop, and all of a sudden I'm like looking around like, what the fuck do I do now? And, just trying to find a small gap. And sometimes it'd be like, let's just barrel through. And I'm like, that looks like a good place to go, and like hop over a ledge, and I'm like, whoops.
And you fall in the building.
Yeah. That was not what I'm supposed to do. And as I'm falling, I'm like, I should have gone over there.
and the stark white that they have with everything, that allows them to do the like bursts of red.
The runner's vision.
That has,
which is less in the hard modes, actually.
Yeah, right. They dull it down a little bit, right?
But by then, you've probably played, because you have to unlock those modes by playing through the game, so you had some experience about what to do.
Learning what things to look for.
Right, and so it's a game that demands that you learn it. I don't think you can really approach this game as a casual, I'm going to play this once through on a weekend and have a good time with this. You can have a good time, but you're also going to find a lot of frustration because it's not... A lot of times things are not obvious, and you really have to think things out. And sometimes you just have to take big risks. A lot of tough situations were solved by wall running, turning, and then jumping and hoping I grab onto something as I fly through the air between buildings or something. And so, it really demands, if you want to enjoy the game, you really need to spend some time learning places and coming back and replaying it. It's not a very long game either, which I think is good for it,
right,
because as I said, it's a game that is better the more you replay it. And so I've been through it once, and now I'm going through it again, trying again for that don't shoot anybody achievement. But now what I'm doing, like, I finish a chapter and then I go back and I try to do the speed run of the chapter after I've become familiar with it, and it usually takes me 3, 4, 5 tries or something like that. But I find now that I've played through these levels several times, I'm getting that. And that's where the game really starts to shine, where once you're not so much scrambling, what do I do next? When you have a general idea what to do, even if you don't remember all the specifics, then you're, seamlessly putting things together.
Much better flow at that point.
Much better flow. You're hitting, because how you approach things can affect how you maneuver over them. So things like your momentum, how far back. So let's say I want to scale like a short building or something. My speed that I'm using to run up to it, how far back I jump before I hit it will affect it, what's on the other side. So if I jump a little further back, I can actually vault up it really quickly. If, however, I get too close to the wall, then I'm just going to like slam into it when I jump on, and I have to pull myself up slowly instead. And that can be a pain if there's like helicopters flying around shooting at you with machine guns and stuff. And I think they do the action really well, like especially once you've become familiar with it. Once you're not worrying so much about what the hell do I do next, then the action really sings, and it's again sort of a very visceral, very sort of experience. And I also, the first person part can be a little frustrating too sometimes, because it can be a little hard to judge timing.
Yes.
Your first few times through, again, that gets better.
So you get a feel for it.
Right. And so I may have enjoyed my first playthrough more if it had been third person. But that said, I do appreciate sort of the visceral experience of doing this stuff first person, which is not something you get much of an experience of in other games.
Yeah, well, when you get to slam into a building and miss your thing, and then you're falling, and it's from a first-person perspective, so you hit the wall and then fall, and you're watching yourself fall. Yeah, it's a very real feel.
Yes,
to
exactly. And it could be
or jumping off a building,
right? Yeah, or, I have to make this big jump to get down, but it's going to be a far jump, so I don't want to land hard, so I'm going to do a roll, and I do a roll, and that could be disorienting, so then I pop up and I have to kind of regain my my bearings, and so it gives a very authentic feeling experience, and I really, really like that part about it.
I mean, it's very similar to when you actually are doing your parkour on the building tops.
Yes, exactly. In my costume.
Dressed like a woman.
Another thing that I appreciate out of it is I enjoy
a really tall woman.
The fact that it encourages you to explore and to kind of trailblaze. There's usually one very clear path. But that's not the only path, and oftentimes that's not the fastest path, or the safest path even. And when you get into things like the time trials and the speed runs, you can download ghosts of other people and try to keep up with them as they blitz through like these crazy routines and whatnot.
Yeah,
and so you can see some insane stuff that people are pulling off. And I like that they left it open. That must have been kind of a nightmare to kind of program to make sure that there's no game breaking things in there, or anything like that. But still leave those options open so that people can really branch out and do what they want to do and play the game in sort of their way. I enjoy that sort of creativity aspect for it. I think another thing that we talked about with the demo is that it was weird that there's like nobody living in this giant city. Yeah, other than the cops. And that's still kind of
very bare.
Me. It's very bare.
Yeah.
Even when you see the streets, there'll be some cars, but like it does not feel like a bustling metropolis.
Yeah, that was a first-person nightmare for me.
Oh,
At the time, I'm that was early on in first-person games for me. I've kind of warmed up a little bit to them.
Grown up
a little bit.
Well, this one can be particularly disorienting because unlike first-person shooters where maybe you'll look up and down on occasion, here, you're going everywhere with your field of vision.
Yeah, it's all over the place, especially when you're rolling around and everything. And you get all disoriented.
Yep.
And the disorientation is part of the, challenge of the game.
Right.
Keeping you on your toes.
So I'm enjoying it.
Cool.
And as I get better at the game, I'm enjoying it even more. But I found it used. You can find it pretty cheap these days. I do actually recommend checking out. I think the demo is probably still on the marketplace.
Probably.
So
yeah.
if you haven't played it, if you missed over on that one, give it a shot. It is very different.
Yeah.
Cool. Now we can talk about some Darksiders 2
The sequel
that you actually played.
The sequel.
The sequel to Darksiders 2?
No.
Darksiders 2.2?
.2, the sequel.
To
The prequel.
2.5?
Wait, is this a sequel to Darksiders 2.2?
I'm so confused with the
Darksiders 2 is a sequel, but takes place before the first game.
Yeah.
That would be a prequel.
I don't know why they just...
Why didn't they go Darksiders 1/2?
No, not even 1/2. Just don't number it. Just put death on it.
Darksiders Death.
There you go.
That would have been good, right?
Yeah, because I got 2 more coming up.
Regardless.
Hopefully.
No, we got to see silhouettes.
So
Yeah, that guarantees that that THQ is going to pull out of their slump.
So this
No, you got a point.
Darksiders 2 takes place before, as we said, takes place before Darksiders.
In their heads, it's happening.
And you play as Death,
Yes.
who is trying to. This is during when war is being brought up on charges of destroying
War
population.
crimes. Yeah. Just bringing the Armageddon.
When he's getting pinned for all that
Yeah.
that stuff, and he's saying no, that's wrong. He's being inappropriately
Touched.
touched by those people. No, accused of these things. He didn't
Yes.
do it, so he's trying to prove his innocence.
being set up.
And so it's taking place before that because in Darksiders, War basically gets out.
Yeah.
And goes on his own.
Spoiler.
Goes on his own journey to clear his name.
Yeah.
So Death apparently doesn't succeed. Spoiler. That's the worst spoiler.
Yeah.
Is that this game is all pointless
Yeah.
because he doesn't need him. I'm curious to see how it goes through the course of this game because I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, he dies.
Do you know that it's all completely before?
I
the
believe
events in war?
so, but maybe not.
Maybe it kind of
We'll
coincides.
see.
later.
It might.
We'll
might.
see towards the end. Yeah.
Because I don't really know.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. I hope so. Because I thought it was weird when they announced that it was going to be a prequel.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, they all anyway. Regardless, I don't want to spoil the first one. But so it is similar to the first Darksiders. But they change a lot of things around this time around. They make it a lot more of an RPG game, which I was not expecting either.
Yeah.
What kind of elements of RPG?
They throw in experience as far as like experience points and leveling up, which I can't remember how it was done in the first game. You did level up because you got new points to spend, but I don't know how they did the experience points.
I don't remember.
So it's more transparent with its
It
experience.
is, and the fact that you're just getting loot all the time.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting different weapons that you can pick up and have different abilities. And you're getting from treasure chests and other items. And so you have weapons, you have armor, you have different little like added on things, trinkets that you can put on. I can't remember what they call everything.
Rings.
Yeah,
The
there's
rings and then the necklaces.
So there's all that kind of
I
stuff.
might be thinking about a totally different game.
You might be thinking of Dust.
I think I am.
You pick up all that stuff.
But you still pick up all that stuff.
And you can, and I will say that they brilliantly do put it into the game seamlessly where when you stand over it, it gives you the information on the item as far as like what it lowers and raises.
Right.
And you can either push B to put it into your items, or, to pick it up into your inventory, or you can hold down the select button to auto-equip it, which is really smart.
Yep.
And a nice way for them to quickly do that. Yeah, so... And you can sell all those items. You can stockpile it. I don't know how many. Are you limited to how many?
Does
you can
that
keep?
help with your hoarding problem?
I
It
think
does. Because there's a set amount, but I didn't know if it expanded.
I think potions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can't. You can only carry 5 at a time.
Yeah, there's 5 for the
But
potions.
it seems like weapons. I've been picking everything up because then I just dump it all.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So that is very different than the first game, and
Yeah.
I will say that I do like it and I don't like it. I'm a little torn on it because at first I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," and then as I went on and was managing it, I was like, "I don't really want to bother with all this."
Yeah.
So I kind of like that first game aspect where you didn't change that stuff.
Yeah.
However, it's
Is there
also
a lot to manage though, because it sounded like you can do most of the upgrades on the fly.
Yeah, but I just don't want to deal with it.
Everything.
I don't want to deal with like, oh, I want to make sure that I'm
so stripped of your hoarding desire. You have no. You're I don't care about all these mechanics.
Here's the thing.
I just want to keep things
because there's multiple right, exactly right. There's multiple aspects of these weapons. So like, okay, I don't want to. I guess when I'm playing this action adventure hack and slash game, I don't want to also manage like, oh, this weapon, it's maybe not as powerful, but it has all these other bonuses, attribute bonuses. Well, and so you're managing all that stuff, and I want to just hack and slash.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I find in that sort of aspect, I choose one stat that I want to focus on. And so
that's what I ended up ultimately doing.
Yeah, I only go if it's.
But then it kind of nullifies me caring about that other stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, but it leaves it open for if you want to try to play again or something, you want to try a different avenue.
And I will say this, I like that I came across these possessed weapons. Did you get any of those?
Yeah.
So I got one that was possessed, and you can upgrade those, and you have to sacrifice other weapons
Does that have a
to
little
it.
nameplate on it says owned by?
No, but you can name them. So you can name them.
Okay.
So that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But you have to sacrifice other items to them.
Oh, okay.
And then you upgrade them. So
yeah, I think I read in reviews feeding items to.
Yeah, so the stronger the items you give it, the more it levels up, and so it has its own level system. You get to it increases its stats, and you get to add another perk to it. So like you can add it giving you health, or you can add it giving you strength.
Yeah.
And every time you level up, you can add another thing to it. So you're basically making these weapons, stronger. And I really liked that. So I was picking up all this shit, and I was like, I don't even care about all these. I'm just going to feed them all to this one and beef it up,
Right.
and be awesome.
Right.
And so I really liked that aspect. I thought it was really well done. Cool. What are you finding with the game, Sean? Are you enjoying it?
It's just a lot. I like it as a sequel. I mean, it's not the same as Darksiders because I had a very Zelda vibe with the first Darksiders. Darksiders? But I had a very Zelda-type vibe
right?
with it.
Yeah.
With when it came to the weapons and just the dungeons and things like that. This one, it's just... You pretty much you have a lot of your stuff right off the bat. A lot. I mean, a good portion of it, like kind of the tools you need. Having the horse, being able to call on hand, because you don't get a horse until later on in the first one. And this one you can. You
start with it.
I love when you can just it's the same as the Transformers, where you can just be jumping and then just switch to the horse and then you're on it. So
and he's riding,
or just jump off and start.
They do only let you have it in certain areas, though.
Well,
like
that makes sense.
Just covering area.
But the world's a little bit different.
It is.
The other was just like a city that pretty much a lot of cityscapes. Then you'd go to different areas,
like dungeons.
Yeah, and then you go into dungeons where this one's very fantasy type, got a fantasy vibe to it. And you're meeting the makers, which I think you only met one in the first one.
There's a lot of them around here.
Yeah, and they're all big. They're all Joe Mad.
They're big.
They're all Joe Madera. They
all look like they're wearing shoulder pads.
Yes,
like football players.
And
they're all squares, giant squares.
Enough of all their little packets and pockets and pouches are all hanging off the parts.
Right.
Even their hair, I think one was. But
it was very. There's a lot of epic moments in the game when you're going through and. You go through these little cavern areas, and then you come out on the other side, and you're like, "Oh, this is kind of plain looking." Because ultimately, I kind of, and maybe I'm misremembering the first game, but I think it looks worse than the first game.
Really?
I don't know. There's something about it. It's different.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go back and play the first one after experiencing because I'm not enjoying it as much.
Yeah.
either, and I don't know what the reason is for that. And I think it might be the setup in that it's just so much more open, it feels, because you're dealing with like this hub map.
Oh yeah,
where
agreed.
But like I was saying before, you'll come around where I didn't think it looked that great. It looked okay. And then I would come around these corners and you'd be in this huge expansive like open area, like this field, and there'd be these huge creature things and like these other buildings, and I'm like, well, that's kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And you would have that a lot where I would like be going to this temple and you'd be just covered in these rocks and going through a cave, and then you'd come out and there's this huge castle thing, and you're like, well, that's awesome looking.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of those moments where it was really neat.
Nice.
It felt very claustrophobic at times, and then all of a sudden, yeah, like you're saying,
It's all open.
It would open up. I had a very Prince of Persia for the Sands of Time. I don't know.
Yeah,
which
and that's.
one it was. I was like, grabbing onto stuff, and I like just some of the gameplay and the way that some of the levels were set up, the symmetry of some of them, and how you go through one and you have the feeling, oh well, like there's one you have to get this not machine going, but it was a big
Construct?
blacksmith forge. You got to get the forge going, so you get the fire and water going, and it had they were very similar, but it still really worked, and I really like the look of it. I dig the feel of it, and especially when you change up like your boots and your coats and all.
That's
that
what I was
stuff,
gonna say.
It changes up on your character, which it always wins me.
Right, and that's what I do like about that equipment aspect, is that it does change how your guy looks.
Yeah.
So ultimately, everybody's playing with like a guy who's a little bit different, depending on what they're using, and I like that a lot. Combat-wise, I was having some issues. I don't think that the targeting system works very well. I don't ever use that targeting system.
Oh no.
Because they do have it where you can like hone in on one guy, but it doesn't always select like the guy that you think it would.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I noticed that it was.
It's not like the closest one to you. It seems randomly picked.
Yeah, usually when I was like going against like a bigger enemy would be in there, I would try to target them,
and you couldn't.
Yeah, and then it was just like you almost had to go over there, start fighting, and then hit your target button, and then
it's really difficult. And I kind of still find, and I don't remember if I had
found that in Asura's Wrath too.
Yep, a little bit. Yep.
Anyway, sorry.
And I don't know if I had this problem in the first game or not, but I also find the button controls to be a little convoluted when I'm in combat. Like I want to do other things, but you have your abilities that you can map to the left bumper. So you can hold down the left bumper button and then hit A, B, X, Y and do a different ability. But I find it kind of, I don't know, constricting, or I don't know how to word it, but when I'm trying to also look around with the camera and move around and hold down my left bumper to hit these buttons, and then the other button is your evade button, the right bumper. So I'm just like, I feel like I'm having to hit every fucking button that's on my controller when I'm in a battle. And I found myself just spazzing out a lot.
Yeah.
Sure. I may be misremembering, but in the first Darksiders 2, you guys talked about challenge rooms that kind of trained you on particular combat moves.
I don't remember.
I think I remember.
You do. I mean, they do ramp up where obviously they're showing you how to do these abilities
or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking that was a cool aspect of it.
He got a lot of tools, and I don't know if Death is going to get a lot more tools.
Yeah, I mean, it follows that same suit, because I've gotten a couple things.
That was the thing, though, because you worry about you find those constructs, and you use them a lot to do a lot of things that your other things would use in Darksiders.
That's true.
So that's why I was kind of wondering if that was going to be just thrown in there, which I like the constructs of their big rolling automatons that just crush things.
Right.
And shoot their head at things. So
yeah. If only you could use them more. Because some of those, like, I got in some of those battle rooms where I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that was a little annoying.
Yeah.
But, you can save anywhere.
Yep.
For the most part, in some of the dungeons, there were some rooms I couldn't save in. But I think once you're outside, you can save anywhere.
Yeah.
And I really like that aspect when you saved it, and then when you restarted your game, it's from that spot that you saved it. Like the menu is like showing you exactly where you're at. So when you push start, it just, all the stuff goes away on the screen, and you're right there. And I thought that was brilliant. I really liked that transition.
That was really neat.
It was a really cool aspect.
There's a lot of I was really amped to buy the game flat out, but I think I'm going to give it one more rent and see what I do with it. And not that I don't like it, I just don't think I was going to put the time into it. I think I was all excited for it, and I just wanted.
I had a lot of glitch problems with it too.
Really?
I got trapped 2 times, like in nothing, like against a wall. And I've also had a lot of things that just like look weird. Like it's also been, I've been fighting the camera nonstop. Like
I had a couple moments with the camera.
Camera gets trapped sometimes behind stuff, and when you get like in close combat areas, or like you're dealing with a lot of enemies,
shake.
It shakes, or you like see through the people, and it gets a little disorienting.
Yeah,
and which is good because I guess they're not blocking you, but it's weird when you can see part of the people.
Exactly.
Not.
Yeah.
Right. This seems like there's a lot of sloppiness to it. I should say. It just seems odd. But I do like, voice acting's good. It's decent. I like that they didn't make Death a dick. I was really expecting him to be an ass.
Well, see, and
and he's not.
Why did you expect that?
I thought with the aspect of them not having the enemy, they're not the enemy, but that
sidekick guy,
the sidekick
who was a dick.
And when he started talking, and he was the freaking the villain from The Crow, and he's all raspy voice, and I just automatically I'm thinking this guy is just he's a no nonsense type of guy, but I never thought he was going to be rude or anything. I thought that was all for Mark Hamill to do.
You know what I thought?
It was all Mark Hamill.
What made me think it, I think, is God of War.
No.
So when you're playing God of War, and he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. And that's kind of what I expected him to be, where he's like, I'm death, I'm this god.
Yeah.
And I'm here, and I'm fucking have to do all this stuff, and I'm really pissed about it, But he's not. And he's actually kind of genuine and nice in a lot of instances. And it was just really surprising to me. And I'm glad.
Good.
Because I wouldn't want to play him when he's just like...
I was just curious why you anticipate. I thought maybe you saw a preview.
Because that's one of the things I hated about God of War, when you were like playing and he's an asshole. And I'm like, of course he's not going to help you. You're a fucking dick. Yeah, nobody should help you. You end up killing everybody.
That's one thing about it, because War was the Mark Hamill character that was over his shoulder the whole time in the
being
first
an ass.
one. Yeah, and so that's why when I was like waiting, I'm waiting for that something
like a buddy
to show up, but I don't want it.
He's got that crow.
Yeah.
The raven that flies around. That's very Journey into Mystery like for me, where
it goes and checks things out for you.
Where he's got this dust. Is the name of the crow, and he flies around, and he's always visible, and kind of tells you where you need to go, gives you little hints.
And he'll just sit there and wait for you, and I get annoyed at him. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to get to you.
Right.
And he's like sitting on this little perch above a door. I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. Quit glowing at me.
He's not saying anything.
No, he's not. It's not like he's crowing, but it's just like it's taunting me.
I did hear.
I'm over here.
This is not promising.
Silently taunting me.
This is not promising for me, but I did hear that this game's longer than the first game.
Nice.
And but my problem is I kind of felt like that first game towards the end I was like ready for it to be done.
Sure.
And I
had taken such a huge break.
And I heard that this is like 2 to 3 times longer.
Wow.
Of a game. And so then I worry that maybe that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you know yeah, exactly, Craig. Because we talked about that before. It's like a good 10 to 12 hour game is a nice experience.
Right.
And I'm hearing people saying this is like a 25 to 30 hour game. And this kind of game for me, like, especially if you just go into another dungeon and do another, the same thing over and over. So maybe that's good, but if it's just long because they've added 10 more dungeons that are doing the exact same thing, like that doesn't seem entertaining to me at all.
Maybe Peaches and Herb will show up. I don't know their names. I forgot.
Who's that?
Call them Peaches.
Oh, the other
two.
The other Strife
horsemen.
and
Strife. There you go. Strife and Malice.
Malice?
It's not Malice.
No, I don't think so.
It's Strife though. Strife's the one.
I can't remember
There's
the other
a
one.
female and a male.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway,
that's why I said Peaches and Herb.
I don't know if I'm going to complete it because that turns me off right now knowing
that. And I'm like, I'll run it one more time. Yeah, right.
Go with Spec Ops.
Yeah, and I've got
and then wait and buy Darksiders 2 when it's on sale for $30.
And Transformers is coming out too.
Yeah, that's happening.
I've got a lot of time.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time in the world.
All the time.
I had high hopes of like completing that game, but now that I know the hours on it.
See, and that's why I wanted to mention it because that's another thing where I was going to jump back into it, and I'm probably not now.
Yeah.
I'll probably wait until I play it sometime down the road when I have actually a lot of time. Maybe.
How often do you come back to games?
Exactly. Depends. If I buy it, never. True. If I rent it again, I will finish it. If I was explaining this to my wife last night about, well, she's like, why don't you just buy this? Because we're talking about another game. And I'm like, because if I buy it, there's no sense of immediacy.
Right.
And so I will never play it.
Right.
Because I can play it anytime.
Right.
Which means I play it never.
So you need games with a self-destruct mechanism.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I rent a lot, because that puts a timer on me, and it makes me have to do it.
They need to put those in the jewel casing, like a little acid thing that just opens, and then just...
That's right. If you don't finish this by this date, we will come and kill you.
Yeah.
I need that threat.
Well, I don't know if... He'd find somewhere to go.
And there's a recorded message. Good morning, Jeremy. Your assignment is to complete this game.
Or you'll be dead.
Yes.
All right. We did with Darksiders. Anything else you want to mention about it? Let's. All right.
No,
something really tasty there.
Thanks for the head shake on the radio.
I really don't have. It's like I'm having a lot of fun with it. I like the world. I thought I like the voice acting. It's
something is not gripping me like it did with the first Darksiders.
Yeah.
I have that feeling.
I might not just. Maybe it was that I played Darksiders just more recently than I did the first time. So
yeah.
It's kind of like. Yay!
Too much, or you're excited?
I just want to play. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Then
I think that's why I liked having the horse right off the bat. Not like that. This is a huge thing.
Right.
I don't want people are sitting at home.
That is good. I mean,
you don't have to run places.
Well, because he moves kind of slow, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, and they anticipate that people playing Darksiders 2 probably played the first Darksiders, so you don't want to have to go through the entire. You don't want to have to go through that building process. You mentioned that you start with a bunch of the tools that you had. In the first Darksiders, or things similar.
Yeah, exactly.
There was in the first Darksiders, you started with less. Essentially, that's what you're trying to say. And so
you got to cover a lot more ground.
Yeah. Well, there's those things, but also, if you just finish, if you finished playing Darksiders for 8, 10, 12 hours, then you don't want to have to go through all that process again, and then think that third game. Do that process over again.
Can't wait till the end before I can move anywhere fast. They did have fast travel too. So there's fast travel in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can move around the map that way quickly.
Which is really cool. Yeah, it's just...
Which lends, again, to the RPG element of it.
And it doesn't happen in dungeons like most dungeons. Yeah. You just can't. It's just neutered. They have they must have a blocker or a scrambler up there.
Scrambling.
Scrambles their signal so you can't leave dungeons.
You can't get out of there.
Or save. I want to save. But I could step right out the door right here. Foot's out, save. Foot's in. We're good.
We're good.
All right. Pokey save.
But one game that you should play instead of Darksiders, Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs.
Put all your time into that.
I was holding Spec Ops, Sleeping Dogs, and Darksiders all in my hands the other day.
You could go on Tuesday and then add Transformers to the mix.
Well... Yeah, I don't know.
Life sucks.
I don't think he's going to go through the rental process for that one.
Probably not.
Well, maybe until I get paid the following Friday.
True.
All right. So, Sleeping Dogs from Square Enix is the developer. I'm sorry, is the publisher on it, and the developer is United Front Games. It is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm loving it. I was looking forward to it, but those GTA clones sometimes you like. Okay, this is what you're going to do. It's an open world. You're going to do this kind of game. And then something falls apart.
Yeah.
And I will say that Sleeping Dogs does not fall apart. In fact, it does things better than... Like, it doesn't deserve that clone thing. Like, it is in its the way that it's designed as far as, like, the idea of how you play it. But it does things better than the things that it's based on.
Sure.
And so that... If you can get that out of those games, that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah.
It does it better than GTA itself. So the idea of the game is you are Wei Shen, who is a Chinese-American cop who is basically undercover in Hong Kong with a triad group and like a gang trying to find out what's going on there, bust them, shut them down.
Right.
I think ultimately you're trying to get to one particular person. But you're basically walking this line between cop and criminal, and you're still a cop though, and that's one thing that's missing from those GTA style games for me a lot of times is that you're still a bad guy.
Yeah,
you're in the gray, but you're ultimately you don't care. It's all about your own interests.
Right.
That's not the case with this game at all. You do still feel that cop thing all the time, which is awesome. And they do it with the way that they have your experience in the game. And there are 3 different methods that you gain experience in the game, and that is with Triad, Cop, and Face.
Yeah.
And so Triad is with doing anything that's gang related, like beating people up or taking out other gangs, doing some of their missions. But you're also gaining experience across those 3 different levels all the time. So so when you're in a Triad mission, if you're hitting, you're going to still get Cop experience at the end of it, but. So there's 3 different basically experience bars, and they all have their own perks, and you can level them up separately and get things that you can unlock it separately. So if you're in a triad mission and you're doing something like robbing a truck to get these watches, to sell on the black market, if you're hitting pedestrians or doing damage to property, you're losing experience on the cop side for that mission, which is really smart.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Okay.
And so... But when you beat up people, you get experience on the triad side, for doing bad things, basically. And then there's a third one, which is called Face, which is basically how the citizens of Hong Kong see you. So when you're helping out with like little, you can do assistant missions. So they're not main missions to the game. They're like these secondary missions.
Right.
And you're basically doing jobs or favors for people.
Yeah.
And by doing those, you're building up that face experience.
So if the face experience goes low, do they hate you or do they fear you?
No, it's how it works is that you have a face meter as well. And when you're in a combat situation, you'll beat up these guys and it builds up your face meter.
Right.
And once it maxes out, they kind of get scared of you.
Right.
The guys that you're fighting. So there's like a flash on the screen and you kind of see you're in that mode. And I think in that time you're doing more damage and you're recuperating health faster. But they also like when you step up to a guy to beat him up, they kind of like shy away because basically you're intimidating them at that point. So you also just become like a big ass kicker at that point. The people don't really react to you.
So it doesn't stay. It's not like so much experience points. It's a more immediate one.
That for that aspect, it is.
Okay.
There is an experience bar that you're leveling up.
Okay.
You're leveling up your face value. And by doing that, you're unlocking perks with each level.
I see.
So there's one of them that like now these bonuses or these buffers that you get kind of last longer.
So you always want face experience points then, is what you're saying?
Yeah. There's no reason to not have. I mean, that just goes up by doing these missions.
Right, but you were saying the missions are helping people? So if you're trying to build, like, I assume you could play this in a way where you're like, I'm going to the dark side. I'm going native.
There's not
off
really.
the reservation. So
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, you said so you have to kind of balance. You want triad to be high and you want cop to be high. I was thinking they were an either or proposition.
No, they're not. So you do a mission.
Okay,
and at the end of the mission, you get experience for both.
Sure.
You're going to get cop and triad. But
you're kind of saying that some of the stuff would lower the cop but raise the triad. So you're trying to find a balancing act between the two?
No, not really. Maybe I'm misrepresenting it. Because
so here's what I was thinking. I'll just throw the whole idea out, so we're not parceling it. So, so I guess what I was trying to think was that since you're an undercover cop, you're trying to still be a cop, but you're also trying to convince them that you are thoroughly a triad member. So you're trying to make sure that you keep enough triad experience that you're gaining that so that you're still convincing but not go off the reservation, so to speak, and so you're still trying to keep your cop side up as well. Is that somewhat
let's say you do a mission and at the end of the mission you're going to get 500 experience points for triad and 500 experience points for the cop side.
Right.
If you're in that mission and you hit people or you like cause property damage, you're going to lose some of that 500 points on the cop side.
Right. So
that's going to go down. That's pretty much how it works. Yeah, they level up both of those things.
Okay.
The triad, I don't really think you can lose anything. Because it's not like you can like, I'm driving really safely. Now they think I'm a cop. You know what I mean? So they don't respect me. I think it's just that the triad is...
I showed respect towards women. So.
Exactly. It doesn't work that way. You don't really lose anything on the experience side for the triad. You lose it on the cop side if you're doing things that are very, like if you're killing innocents... you won't get as much experience points.
So it still has a bit of that tinge of, make sure that you don't go too far.
I like it because it keeps you in check because you want to level up everything.
Lose yourself undercover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't get too far gone.
Right.
Now, I've had a situation where I've had to kill people, and that doesn't take away because I think if you're in that scenario or in that situation, you're doing what you have to do.
Right.
I mean, the game is still directing itself as far as this is what you have to do as a character. You're killing bad people.
Well, when you're talking about the 3 different experience bars and you're talking about losing points, I was thinking kind of along like the morality choice lines that you get in a lot of games,
like maybe in
Paragon, Renegade,
right? In Mass Effect, where it's like it's going to go up or down, one side or the other. That's not. They're both perpetually moving forward.
Okay.
There's never a decrease.
Okay.
Overall.
Got it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep, I got you. It's clear now. Thanks.
No problem. Sorry, it's hard to explain.
No, I was genuinely confused.
It's a really, really cool scenario, like situation too. I really like that whole aspect to it.
Right. So different categories are basically placing different experience points.
Exactly
That's
right.
How it's working.
Got it. And so the face thing, it gives you things where now I call for a valet and he can bring me my car anytime because it's things that are like these perks that are just really awesome. And they're not things you have to choose. They're automatic perks just by the levels that you go up. So you're doing all that. The mission structure is fantastic. because you are doing missions for the triads, but you're also doing missions for the cops at the same time.
Right.
So you're doing these surveillance things where, okay, here's a triad mission, but here's a cop mission, and sometimes those are actually investigative work. So they'll be like a 4-part mission. And the first one is just getting information, getting it back to your contact in the police department saying, hey, I think this guy, we need to tail him. Then they get back to you later, and there's another fact-finding mission where you go and plant a bug. And so you're doing this at the same time that you're doing these other missions, and they're just really well balanced and awesome. Selecting the missions are fantastic because that's one of the things like with Grand Theft Auto where you can build up a lot of missions at the same time and they're on your mini map. But with this game, you click the left stick, you push it in the left stick, and it basically just chooses a new route for the different missions that you're close to. So. And it'll give you like a highlighted route on your map to that one. So you can basically cycle through like 4 really quickly instead of having to go in and select it and see what it is. You basically just click that button and it chooses the next one.
You don't have to go to your map, look up quests, hit your waypoint, all that stuff.
No, not at all.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's really, really handy and awesome. The combat is really the big point in this game for me. And it's basically any of the Batman game close combat scenarios. It's that kind of action in a Grand Theft setting.
Sure. Nice.
I've played probably 7 or 8 hours of the game, at least maybe, and I just started dealing with a gun because it is not about like shootouts at all. I've got one now, but it's still all about close combat attacks. Guns are rare in the Hong Kong setting there. It's all people with like handheld items. And so you'll fight people sometimes that have like crowbars and wrenches and, a knife or so once in a while. But it's mostly hand-to-hand like kung fu fighting all the time, which is awesome. And that system is really, really rewarding when you fight those people. And so when you're in the close combat scenario, you basically have your X button, which is your regular attack, and you can hold it to do a stronger attack. But you're usually surrounded by a group of people, much like those Batman Gotham scenarios or Arkham scenarios. And so the guys will highlight in red when they're going to attack you, and you can hit Y to counter that. Yeah. So it's easy to see, but it's basically like that dance that you play in Batman. And you're doing that and building up things, and you can grab people, so you can grapple, and then use your environment, and things will glow red, and you can like throw them into it, and that stuff is so satisfying. I can't even explain it. Like you'll have like these phone booths that you can kick them into, and like basically it takes them out.
Yeah.
You have these fans. It's just using your environment completely, and you'll be in these areas where I put a guy's head into a fan, like this, like on a rooftop, like one of those exhaust fan things. Yeah. I put it in there. It was like super gross, and it was awesome. But it was great. I threw a guy through a fish tank and killed him that way. There's just so many things you can do. It's awesome. It is so just visceral and great.
Right. That's cool.
So that's usually where you'd fall apart in those GTA games where it's all about the shooting, and then when you get into close combat attack, it kind of falls apart.
Right. Yeah.
Not the case at all. The shooting, the little bit I did of it was cool. You still get like the slowdown thing when you jump over. Like go out of cover and jump over objects. They do the bullet time slow down thing, which is nice because it's really not a focus on the shooting. So it's nice that they do those little bonuses.
Right. And it's a little John Woo-ish there.
It is very John Woo-ish in some of those aspects. And it is all about moving forward. So you are in a lot of environments where you're running by holding down the A button or chasing guys. And then to get over objects, you basically tap the A button. So you'll hold down A to run. And then when you come up on something, you'll like hit it if you don't hit your jump button, so it'll slow you down a little bit, and then that'll lose you some of your cop experience from that level because it's like clumsy, so they'll like take away 5 points from your experience thing. So you're also like not doing very good. But if you tap the A button, it's all just fluid movements of like jumping over objects, climbing up walls, jumping over stuff, and eventually catching a guy. That stuff is just really well done. It's so well balanced, the game. Like I said before, you can get buffs by buying things in areas from merchants. Like you can get ice cream. Like it's basically food-based stuff that'll give you buffs that last for a certain amount of time. So like faster recovery rate, like strong.
That reminds me of Dead Rising. Is that the Capcom game?
Yeah. Oh, when you can get
because they're you make the drinks and stuff. Like
exactly.
That.
It's kind of like that where you get the buffs and they'll stay on the side of your screen.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm in this like scenario where I leave my house when I play the game, and go out and stop at the vendor, the noodle vendor outside the front, and he gives me my like recovery thing, and then I go get a Red Bull from somewhere, which is basically their drink that they have.
Yeah.
Dragon Kick, I think is what it's called, and it's like that makes your punches stronger, and that all lasts, and then you can see them tick down, but they last a long time.
Okay.
So you buy those and you build up all your buffs, and then there's also a ton of clothing in the game that if you have a matching set, they give you a bonus usually or a buff. So like a 5% melee damage increase or things like that.
So a sense of style is good.
Totally. And there's objects that you can wear that give you bonuses that you can't wear unless you're at a certain level, like that face.
So it's like armor.
Exactly.
It works like a lot of armor.
And that face level, I have these sunglasses that I can wear that'll give me like a 10% bonus to something, but I can't wear them until I'm at face level 4.
Yeah.
So then I can be badass with my glasses.
You put them on and people are like, ugh, that's really not you.
You put them on at night.
You are not badass, sir.
Yes.
The city of Hong Kong is awesome.
Cool.
It's really cool to maneuver around in it. It's a lot of fun to drive around. The game looks great. It's not completely clear and crisp. There is some pop-in stuff and there's some draw distance issues.
Right.
But it's really, really nice looking and well done. And there's some awesome elements with the weather changing because you do have the progression from day to night. There is a lot of rain that happens, and that stuff looks great when it rains at night and you're driving along in your motorcycle. There's radio stations with licensed music in it.
Nice.
And then there's like awesome Chinese commercials on them that I can't understand what anybody's saying. Voice acting is fantastic in the game.
Good.
They do a lot of mixture of English and Chinese. That's really well done.
So kind of like Max Payne 3 with the Portuguese.
Yeah, where they like will do a whole sentence in English, but then maybe drop a couple lines in there or words in there that are Chinese. It's really smooth and well done,
That's
and
cool.
believable.
Right.
Voice acting is very authentic too from the people that are doing it. I have the subtitles on.
Right.
I don't know what they would do in those cases where they would throw in the Chinese word if you didn't have subtitles on.
Oh, they translate the Chinese?
Yes.
Oh.
In the subtitle they do. And they have it in like a parentheses.
Well, Max Payne 3, it would be Portuguese.
Right.
In the
and they wouldn't
subtitles.
tell you what they were thinking or saying. So this is...
Although I guess we're assuming that this guy can understand the Chinese.
He would be able to because he speaks Chinese.
Yeah, my guess would be that the subtitles will pop up anyway. For
It might. I don't know. Because it's just like they'll do one word. Like they'll call somebody an asshole and the Chinese word for asshole.
Oh, for a single word? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that.
So it'll have like the subtitles and then the word that he said in Chinese will be in parentheses, but it'll be in English.
Sure.
To let you know. So it's just a really neat aspect, and I kind of like it. I turned on the subtitles just to make sure I can follow along with that stuff. So
I find I have to do that a lot these days.
or you get lost.
Yeah.
It helps me remember shit because I'm actually reading it as well as, hearing it.
Sometimes the audio on some new games now is a lot louder than it should be, like the presets.
Right.
I know my presets.
Yeah, right.
And I got to go in and actually switch them, and I don't. And it's just like you can't hear stuff. I got shot like 100 times trying to put a plunger down, and I didn't hear someone tell me to wait.
That's right. That's true. I mentioned the driving is fun though, but they did implement the thing that I really wanted from that last Drive game, which is the ramming.
Oh, nice.
And that is awesome because you can hit the X button while you're driving and ram into the side of people or ram forward into people.
Very cool.
And take out cars that way. It makes it so much easier and so much more fun. So I really love that. There's a lot of little bonus things that are in the game because you do also have to hack these video cameras where you hack in and basically can go back to your apartment and look on your closed circuit television and see where you've set up a camera and kind of like see what's going on. And I had to do that to pinpoint this like dealer guy where I hacked the camera and went back and I'm like, okay, here's the guy. And I spotted him on there and radioed it. And I got to watch him get arrested.
Nice.
On the security camera. So there's a lot of those around. And that's breaking up the crime elements that's in there. But then there's all these little hacking games where on that one, it's like this code you have to put in by selecting these different digits. But there's these other things where you plant bugs and you have to do this other game with the joysticks. There's just lots of little mini games that I didn't expect.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And those are thrown in. And I had some of them pop up where I'm like, well, this is different. I've never done it. And it's really awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's really cool and little bonus. There's karaoke in the game.
Yeah, I saw
that is awesome. You go into the bar and there's karaoke machine and you basically sing and it's a guy singing karaoke songs like Hit Me With Your Best Shot and like it's just all these actual classic songs and you play it with the joystick where they have the line and you have to have the joystick lined up with that line or he sings off.
Nice.
It's so funny.
That's awesome actually.
It is awesome.
It is because I sometimes with those singing games, the fact that I have to sing weird to make those lines, and now I just have to like make those lines to get there. Cool.
It's great.
Yeah, I need to check
Except the
this
one
game
where
out.
they do it in the middle. the middle of up and centered.
Yeah.
And that's where they add the difficulty. But it's funny when you miss it and the guy's like all off key because he sounds, and then they'll give you like feedback on the mic. I just like it when I'm doing it. And then like I was doing it all by myself. So I'm an undercover cop just in the middle of the day, just singing karaoke in this bar by myself. And then towards the end of the song, one dude came in and he was dancing. And then somehow that was even sadder. Like than me just by myself.
I love those games.
I did it. I went and did it.
All of a sudden, it's an art film.
Exactly. AI guys like.
I went and did the Kung Fu Fight Club thing where you fight like 6 rounds of guys, and then I was all bloodied up, and I went in and did karaoke. So my guy's all like super bloodied and beat up, and he's doing karaoke, and then there's just one guy dancing.
That's how he releases.
One guy dancing.
Listeners are missing out on all these great dances that Sean and Jeremy are doing.
Those are some of the best things with GTA and games like that is when you go in those nightclubs and there's like 2 people.
And it's really sad and pathetic.
And they're on the dance floor just going crazy. And there's like 2 people. And
in the middle of the day.
You got that one waitress that just keeps walking in circles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she's just like, and you're like, what is going on?
I had this awesome experience too in the game because you can get ladies. And so you can date them because you have a cell phone that you also pull out that has like some data you'll get. You can send messages that way or you get information that way. But you can call people that you're on your contacts list. So you meet these women in the game.
Kind of like the GTA.
It's kind of like the dating scenario. So I was like, but I was worried that you were going to have to do all this stuff, like, you know, manage it.
Yeah.
And you don't. They're just basically these side missions that you do and you go on a date. And then at the end, you get these like bonuses. So by doing those, it unlocked like the collectibles that you can find because there are a couple of collectibles around the game that they also make like bright, shining, like very, very visible, which thank you because I like that they're really easy to spot. But this, by doing these date things, it made them so they were visible on my mini map.
Ooh,
nice. Not my major one, but the mini one. It'll show you ones that you haven't gotten yet.
Vicinity.
Exactly, which is really handy. So I'm glad I did it.
That's cool.
But one of them, there was this girl that I was dating, and I found out she's like dating some other dude. So then I was like, well, I'm going to go confront her about it. But I'm dating multiple women, right? So I'm like, this is kind of bullshit, which is what I'm thinking. So you go confront her, and she's like, oh, you're going to be Mr. Big, so you can date multiple women, but I can't date multiple men, Mr. Big Triad guy. And the guy she's with, he's like, wait, you're Triad? See you, man. And so he leaves. So I'm having this fight with the girl, but the guy was stuck. So the guy's walking into a wall, basically, and I still see him on the screen. And I'm like, I'm thinking like this dude's like, I'm trying to leave.
He's nervous.
Trust me, I don't want to be.
He's like, I'm
Sorry, honestly, sorry.
He's stuck by this wall, and then he starts walking in a circle, and I'm thinking this poor guy who just wants to get the fuck out of here.
He's just like, I'd hope they'd be done by now.
So he circles around, then he finally walks behind her and leaves. But I was like, the whole time.
He had a question. She had his keys. He had to ask her, but he didn't want to
So
interrupt.
I'm out of here. Trust me. I promise. It was really funny.
Sorry to interrupt.
It also has some a little bit of camera issues once in a while, driving wise. The camera gets a little stuck in some areas when you get close quarters, but ultimately it's not that bad. It doesn't happen that often. The only other thing I will mention is there are some social aspects to it. There's a social hub you can go to. It keeps track of a lot of things in game that'll pop up. So like the longest like uninterrupted drive or the longest wheelie, and those will pop up in the bottom right hand and show you what rank you are and what you need to hit for the next rank. And it has like your friends list as far as people who have gotten like hold the record for it. There's medals that you can get, bronze, silver, and gold for doing different things in the game. That if you go into the social hub, you can see what you've unlocked and things that. So there are things that don't really give you anything. It's not like they give you experience points, but there are other things that you can achieve in the game, and maybe will also lead you to play in a different way. Because there's things in there that I have never even experienced. There's like things for broken limbs. So now I can start like targeting that stuff when I'm in fights and try to break limbs, even though I don't normally do that. There's little bonuses that you can see on those things. So that's kind of cool. And I went in there and messed around and just liked seeing everybody else's stats. You know, and it also gives you their stats for each level completed, like a score, overall score, because you can replay some of those challenges or those missions. And basically go for a higher score and things like that. So there's little nice aspects of those the social element on there. It's a really great game. It's really well done across the board. It is a GTA clone in its nature, but it does things better than those games do. And so don't overlook it as a clone at all because it is really tight and really well done. And I highly recommend it. And it's just it's fun. I'm having a hard time putting it down.
Maybe that's the new GTA.
It should be. It's going to be hard to go back to a GTA that doesn't have decent combat now.
Maybe that's why they're taking a while to put
That's
it
why they're not
They're
saying anything? Oh,
we-
shit.
We played that Sleeping Dogs game.
We're terrible.
There's a lot of new things we could take from it.
He's actually a good guy. Not
They
a
should be
terrible
able
guy.
to-
Now,
give
I
you
wanted
a-
to say
you should be
they
able
did. They did kind of flip that around with Red Dead Redemption. However,
Yeah.
we talked about that when we talked about Red Dead Redemption, where it's the complete reverse, where it's really hard to be a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah.
You're kind of forced to be a good guy,
Yep.
Right.
no matter what.
This one you still have to do bad things, but you're doing it to bad people, so I guess there's the
That lets you
justification.
sleep at night. Okay,
Actually, I've had a couple cutscenes where he's having a problem sleeping at night.
I meant you personally.
Me, I'm fine so far. But they do have. It was funny that you said that because they have a couple cutscenes where they're like, it's black screen and you're replaying dialogue where you're like doing things that maybe weren't the best, and
Right.
then he wakes up and he's like, oh, because it's getting to him, man.
Nice.
It's getting to him.
It's gonna break.
He is gonna break. And he's gonna be like, fuck everybody.
Give everybody purple nurples.
No, I think he's gonna be a little hardcore than that.
They need to do that in a game. Just purple nurple people.
Bully 2.
I wish there was a
There you
bully
go.
too. God damn it. Bully's so good.
We can't say that.
Did you play Bully?
No.
Did you played it?
Yeah.
You loved it, right?
Yeah. That was my first 1,000-pointer.
Nice. You should play it.
I can't
kart
brag
races.
that.
Fucking car races.
God damn those kart races.
They suck.
They are ass.
I've only done one race in Sleeping Dogs so far, and it wasn't bad.
Okay, good.
But that's always the case with the first
were they
one.
in carts?
Yeah.
They were not in carts. But I'm driving my moped and motorcycle around like a motherfucker, and it's awesome when you put your little helmet on.
They got rickshaws.
Nope, I haven't seen those yet. I did get on one of those boats, though. Like those Chinese boats.
Yeah.
A junk.
Yeah. And I was going around on that. Didn't do anything with it. Tried to ramp it off something, and it barely moved because it had no speed.
Yeah, because they're like,
So just like, it kind of just went up and then landed on the dock, and I just got out. I'm like, okay.
that's always what, like, they should have a total, like, where the AI has, like, a computer that films what you're doing from a different angle.
Yeah.
Because I know they can do that because you can switch up camera angles, but it would be really sweet to show it, like, from a person's perspective as they're watching on the beach with their own
Just some
commentary.
guy.
Like, what's up with this guy?
That'll be like the editing software in like the skate games.
Yeah.
Is he drunk? Look at this drunken guy.
And then you come up and then they're like, dude, you all right? You're trying to ramp that junk boat?
No, to be the camera shot of you just running by. And then looking for cases. These little lock cases that you have to find.
Love it.
Anyway, I highly recommend it. I'll probably have more to talk about next time because I'm going to finish it.
Sweet.
For show. Love it. Anything else? We good?
Good.
That's it for now?
That's it.
All right. Signedinpodcast.com is our website. Find links to our Facebook fan page, all of our past episodes, our forums, all the other pseudo radio shows. You can find me, for the most part, on Twitter at Signed In Podcast. And what about you guys?
At Pullist, the Pullist. What am I saying? The
I don't know.
Pullist.
The Pull List. on
3
Twitter.
L's together.
Yes. And Sean
Shonix.
with 1X.
1X.
All right.
Softcore.
Softcore.
Not hardcore.
I don't know about that. You can email us at any time at comments
Hardcore.
at signedinpodcast.com.
It's 2 X's.
And next episodes, we'll have Transformers.
Yes.
I'm going to have some more Sleeping Dogs.
Excellent.
Anything else? That's it.
I don't know specifically what's coming out.
It is episode 100.
What?
I wouldn't get too excited about anything special, folks. It is episode 100, and our 4-year anniversary is coming up
Nice.
soon.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty
Crazy,
pretty
right?
close after that. Yeah.
Crazy. Maybe we'll quit.
It'd only be too lucky.
There will never be 100.
We're not going to give all those people that satisfaction.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. If we quit, they win.
Yeah.
It only validates their opinion.
Right.
We can't have that.
No.
Nope.
We're never going to quit.
Nope.
We shall drown them out with our voices.
Just keep the OMG mail coming.
That's right. OMG, shut up. All right. Anything else? We're good?
Good.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.